Is it on?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our monthly ongoing Rossmoor Community Service District's board meeting. Today is Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. Calling this meeting to order. May we please have a roll call?
Roll call, Director Barkey.
Here.
Director Shade. Here. Director DeMarco.
Here.
Director Searles.
Here.
President Maynard.
Here. So would we all please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance? We're fortunate that today we're going to have Girl Scouts lead us in this. And for those who don't know, today is actually the birthday of the Girl Scouts. Not these four individual, but as a whole. So whenever you want to lead us, ladies, please do.
Hello, we are from Troop 8190.
My name is Irini.
My name's Gracie. My name's Addison. And my name's Kisa. And we are doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, of liberty and justice for all.
Ladies, we got something to add to your swatches. So, thank you. Hold that.
And I like how they introduced themselves before. I like that. The Boy Scouts never did that.
Are you allowed to actually add some flair or stuff to your sashes, or is that a no?
I think so.
Well, look at this. This is a Rossmoor community service, but
Thank you.
you get so add it, and then all of your other friends will say, "Gosh, I wish I was there," and you say, "Next time, come." Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie.
Obviously, those troops depend on a solid foundation, including the troop leaders, moms, all the moms, but especially Danielle and Stacy. Thank you for what you're doing with our ladies in the community, and thank you again. So, we actually have an extra presentation, and since it's not something we vote over, it's expected from time to time. And with us today, we have our Highway Patrol Officer, Zeffirino. Officer Zeffirino is here. And your name, if I brutalize it, I apologize. Valdovinos?
Oh, perfect.
Did I do it?
Perfect. Yep.
I was
Appreciate
bound to get one right, you know?
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here tonight. Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for allowing the CHP to service the community here at Rossmoor. Again, I'm Officer Zeffirino Valdovinos. I'll be your new State Services Officer out of the CHP Westminster office. Today I'll be speaking with you regarding the first quarter of 2024, the stats which span January 1st to today. Calls for service. Most of the calls of service range from traffic collisions, e-bikes, traffic hazards, and parking violations. In total, 5 traffic collision reports were generated during the time period. 3 of these traffic collisions were intersection crashes, with 2 of those crashes being minor injuries reported. One was a DUI, vehicle versus a parked car collision with an arrest on the 8th of January of 2024 at 11:30 a.m. on Wellingsford Road. The other was a hit and run collision involving a parked car. Just to reiterate, moving along with the e-bikes, electric bikes continue to be a great concern for the CHP. We are just like the majority of law enforcement community and are working on solutions to combat the issue. I brought some pamphlets to leave with you. That's some good information, rules, laws about the e-bikes, scooters, and bicycles. Along with the pamphlets, you'll find a QR code that will send you to our electric bike online safety training that went live last year. The training can be accessed via our CHP public portal on the public page at www.chp.ca.gov. The online training includes e-bike definitions, proper e-bike fitment considerations, safety gear, rules of the road, and best practices. At the end of the training, a certificate is downloaded for the people that take it. On March 7th of 2024, last week, we conducted an e-bike enforcement and education campaign with the CHP Motor Squad, along with the Honorable Assemblyman Trita's legislative staff. Approximately 80 youth, along with 50 adults, were contacted. Just pamphlets and informing them of rules of the road, pretty much. That's all I got right now.
That's what you have. I'm going to open up questions from the board on this side. Director Schultz.
Yes, thank you for making it here tonight. What is the current CHP staffing levels? I know we've heard there's been some new hires coming. Where are you
Correct.
at?
We just got 4 new officers to the Westminster area office. The CHP is, hiring. We are still struggling with staffing. We're trying to get back up there. But yeah, 4 new officers at the CHP office. We're getting 3 more in May and another one in August. So staffing levels continue to rise, hopefully.
Anything else? Director DeMarco.
Yes, so what do you, thanks for coming, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Want to see you more, and we'd love to have you every quarter give us these reports. So through this year, what do you anticipate the coverage for Rossmoor? And like, how many times would you say, again, generally speaking, CHP officer, yourself or someone else is going to be in Rossmoor?
Sure. I will be your guys' liaison as far as coming into Rossmoor. I come in at 7:30. I try and do the school enforcement in the morning and then again in the afternoon. My other unincorporated areas take a little bit of my time too. Today I had an e-bike crash over in Midway City, so same thing. I will try to be here every day, just sometimes I get taken away. But yes, I'll be here. I'm mostly dedicated to Rossmoor. We have a lot of kids in this community, so.
Do you still have this, so the last officer, Musselman, that we had a phone number that residents could call if they see anything or, traffic related. Is that number still in effect?
Yes.
And, okay, and it would go to you?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
What's that number?
Okay, Carolyn, can we make sure we have that number on our website and get that out? Yes. Okay, thank you. I don't know the number, but I
I
know
don't
it's a
know it offhand.
714 number. But we'll put that out. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Director Shade.
Thank you for being here.
No problem.
So are you guys, you mentioned you had a pamphlet that you're going to be passing out for us?
Correct. I can give you some. I can print more out, so whenever you guys need them, I can leave them here at the community center or anywhere else that you want me to leave them.
Perfect.
They're also at our office.
Are those being handed out for the schools as well?
Yes, I went to the schools last week and we handed them out.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Director Barkey.
There is a citizens volunteer program that you guys were launching as well. Is that up and running?
It is. It's been running up since last year.
And are there volunteers that spend time in Rossmoor?
There is. They usually come out on Mondays. They'll come out, do the school zones. We have a radar trailer that we'll put out every once in a while, and it's here in Rossmoor, and they'll just do the speed enforcement.
Great, thank you.
President Maynard, I had one more question. So there was, I saw either today or yesterday, are you in a cruiser or on a bike?
On a cruiser.
Oh, okay.
I tried a bike.
Then I
Right.
must have saw you then this morning. But it said volunteer on your CHP cruiser.
So that would be our volunteers.
Oh,
It'll say
okay.
volunteer on the side
Yes.
of the black and white.
Yes.
Those are our volunteers.
So can
that
you
are-
explain that for our residents again? Because we talked about this probably a year ago. Can you just go into that real briefly?
Sure. They assist us with like little calls that we'll get, traffic hazards, doing school enforcement, just kind of being a presence. If I can't be out here, they'll come out here for me. Just having a black and white kind of moves things along at the school zone so people aren't just parking wherever they want to park. Stuff like that. They help us out with the paperwork. If you guys have something that comes in, like a stolen car or something like that, they can come out there first before I get out there, kind of start it up for me.
And these are volunteer citizens, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right, great, great news.
I had a couple of questions. We had a few accidents Are there any, and you said intersections,
Correct.
is there any common locations? Is there streets that are more accident-prone than others?
So the ones that I'm usually taking are the ones at, Donis and Quill Run Road. I've taken 2 there. One was
Okay.
with a street sweeper and one was just the intersection. So the intersection has one controlled stop sign, or one, I guess, direction stop sign. So the north-south is, or actually, no, not that one. That one is open, I think. But a lot of these intersections, one will have a stop sign and the other one won't, right? So those are usually where I kind of come into my problems. So it's not a 4-way stop sign, it's just a 2-way stop sign.
Okay. And how long have you been on this beat?
I started last year in August.
Okay. In your opinion, do you think Rossmoor residents are on the safer side or the lead-foot side? What's your comment? And they're behind you, just so you know,
Right.
but you can let them know if they need to be told something.
For the most part, the crashes I see here in Rossmoor
Yeah.
are less than my other unincorporated areas. So Midway City, I have a few more, and our Anaheim unincorporated, a couple more than that. So for the most part, I'd say we'd be below average. On the
Below
crashes.
on accidents, how about speed?
Speed it's always a problem everywhere, especially since most of these streets are residential. 25 is hard for people to follow sometimes, but it hasn't been too big of an issue as of yet. So
Okay. Thank you for your time, and again, thanks for coming out.
no problem.
Feel free to come back whenever you want.
All right, will do.
Just coordinate with Joe. We love it when the people who serve, and that's what truly you're doing, our community, come in and present and let everybody know. Because it takes a lot to have one of the safest communities in all of Orange County, and your team is part of it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And I'll leave these with.
On that side.
All right.
Okay, next up for presentations, this is 4A, but a little bit of a change. We actually are very pleased to introduce the Chief of Orange County Fire Authority, Chief Covey. This is a privilege, guys. It's the big guy.
Make sure we're clear one thing, the chief of the Orange County Fire Authority is Chief Brian Fennessy.
Okay.
I'm your chief for this area.
Oh, okay.
So, but thank you very much, President Maynard, for having me come in, the directors of the board here and staff and residents. So I'm here tonight to do something we don't normally do, but in speaking with Mr. Mendoza, we felt it warranted. There was a social media post that went out that was maybe challenging whether or not we were effectively serving you. So I wanted to kind of come talk to you guys about how OCFA serves Rossmoor and clear up if there's any poor rumors or things like that. I'm here to speak to it and be able to answer. So a quick fire history. When I first started my career about 30 years ago, the fire service was very territorial. Okay, you didn't go into some cities. Those cities handled their calls regardless of patch. So sometimes some of those responses were maybe not as quick as where we are currently. A while back, the fire chiefs got together and quite honestly, they dropped their egos. So now it is the closest fire unit for your emergency, regardless of patch. And I think that's the best way to serve residents. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. So to support that, we have a computer system called AVL, Automatic Vehicle Locator, where before we were only dispatched based on who was the closest fire station. Now we're actually improved it so much you're getting dispatched by the closest fire unit, regardless of patch again. Your closest fire unit is Station 2 here, right in Los Al, okay? Station 2, they could be training, they could be on another call. Do you want to wait for them to go available to come serve your area? No, you want the closest fire unit that's available. Whether it's a medical aid or a traffic accident or things like that, that's what you're going to get. Sometimes you're going to get them from Seal Beach, sometimes you're going to get them from Cypress, sometimes you're going to get them from Long Beach. We have auto aid agreements with Long Beach. We serve each other in kind. So there's times when they come here and there's times when we're going there because we're the closest fire unit to that emergency. If there's multiple calls in Rossmoor, you're going to get multiple units outside Fire Station 2. If you have a structure fire requires a regular residential fire, requires 2 battalion chiefs, 4 engines, 2 truck companies, and an ambulance to come. You're not going to be able to supply that with just Fire Station 2. You're going to get everybody from around here, whether, again, Seal Beach, Cypress, wherever. Medical aid, traffic accident, variations of those dispatches. So you're going to get whoever is around and come to you. We have a magic map at our command center that our dispatch supervisor and our command center chief officer that's there are constantly watching. So that map will tell us coverage in the OCFA County area. It's either green, yellow, or red for obvious reasons. As soon as it starts hitting red, like a structure fire, it's going to turn this area red real quick because we're launching a big response to it. They will immediately initiate move-ups. So they may be responding to the incident. There's a whole nother group of units coming up to this area to cover and backfill those fire stations so that we are not covered for an unacceptable amount of time. We'll continue to try to manage that. It's a dynamic map that's always moving, and they're shuffling the board to make sure we're as effective as we can. We'd love to have more firefighters, but we're trying to do it in a lean way as well, but still make the response times that are important for every 911 call. So hopefully I can it gives you some understanding of how we do business currently versus before, like when I started 30 years ago. I can just attest to you that our goal is the fastest, most closest resource to any 911 call, regardless of whose patch they're wearing. So there will be times you're going to see non-OCFA patches in Rossmoor, because at that moment they're the closest fire unit and your unit is already on another call. So hopefully that clears up any of the potential rumors out there, and I'm available to questions should you have it.
Start on this side. Director Barkey. Questions? Director Shade.
No questions. I'd just like to say I'm completely familiar with you guys, specifically Miss Elizabeth. I've been working with Orange County Fire Authority for years, and you guys do an outstanding job. I appreciate everything you do and the way that you do it.
Thank you.
It's proven to be extremely effective, and not just for the 911 call, but for the community support. You show up for everything.
Good. Thank you.
So happy to have you.
Appreciate that feedback.
Director DeMarco? No questions.
Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you. I also want to say, when I first started working from home, like in 2008, all of a sudden I'm seeing flashes going by. It's middle of the day. I'm on a phone call, and I say, something going on. Just give me a second. My neighbor across the street, their garage was on fire. And the amount of trucks that came in, not just to support that fire, but if we all think back to 2008, we had so many shake roofs in Rossmoor, which was a big concern. Because I said, wow, there's a lot of trucks. And the guy pointed out, he goes, you got a shake, they have a shake, we have a shake. We're here just to make sure this doesn't spread. And at that point, being new to Rossmoor, meaning 6 years, I was so impressed.
Good.
So you do us proud. Thank you for coming tonight. You're always welcome to come here as well.
I appreciate it. I felt it really important. I'm supposed to be at another event tonight, and to me,
you don't
this
like
one,
them. You like
this
us
one
better.
was really important for me to come and talk to you guys and make sure you understand who your fire department is.
Mm-hmm.
We're here. You know Elizabeth. She's my conduit to you guys as well. If you need us, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you very much, Chief.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay. Any additions to the agendas? Right. Which one? No, that was it. That was it, yeah. Public forum. We are now at our public forum section. I have 2 cards. Oh, 3 cards. That's like a trick. If there's any more, please bring them up. We encourage community involvement. Any person may address the Board of Directors at this time upon any subject within the jurisdiction of the Rossmoor Community Service District. However, any matter that requires action may be referred to staff at the discretion of the board for a report and action at a subsequent meeting. With that, Michelle Fieldson, the topic is AIP warrants.
Good evening. Last month, I made a formal request that an item be added to this agenda. It was for a listing of detailed AP warrants to be attached to each agenda and presented for the board to review. I attached copies of how Los Alamitos and Seal Beach does this, what they do with their agenda, how it's ratified. It's pretty simple. It's got the vendor, the check number, the expense, the fund that it's allocated to. And just for public information, the AP warrants, the accounts payable warrants, are important for several reasons. It provides for safeguarding of assets and information, the prevention and detection of fraud and error, and the quality of accounting records and the timely production of reliable financial and management information. So in short, transparency. Mr. Mendoza did reply to me and inform me that it would not be put on the agenda, but that because other cities do routinely do this, the warrants would be attached to the monthly reports. I'm opposed to this workaround and the circumvention of transparency. The reports, the expenditure, revenue, and expenditure reports for this agenda reflect January data. The AP warrants, to be timely, must reflect the previous month. This allows for community input, and it allows for a challenge by a board member. AP warrants, this information 2 months late cannot be adequately referenced and is not really acceptable. It's not standard accounting practices. On February 7th, I made 2 formal record requests. One was for the AP warrants for December, and one was a standing request for the AP warrants every month. To date, I have received none of that information. The information is literally available, easily accessible in any business accounting software program. It can be run by anyone with a minimum of computer skills. I'm experienced with this. It is easy information, and there's absolutely no reason at all that for March, February AP warrants couldn't be included. So I'm curious why we're deviating from what other cities do, in that the data isn't current. I don't understand the delay. I don't understand why it's being attached behind monthly reports. I don't understand why it's not being submitted like other cities as a separate agenda item for the board to review and approve. So while it was not allowed to be put on the agenda, I will ask that this issue be revisited, that timely warrants be included in all upcoming agendas. And if this can't be done, then I will ask that at the next board meeting in the discussion section, that the board explain why, when other cities such as Los Alamitos and Seal Beach, who have much larger revenues and expenditures, can do this, why the RCSD cannot. Thank you.
Next up, we've got Robert Kaplan.
I'd like to have Susan go first if possible.
There's a preference, okay. Susan Kaplan.
At the January, excuse me, at the January board meeting, the general manager said that tennis reservations were decreased, but somewhat compensated for by pickleball reservations. Mr. Mendoza, this is not because of lack of interest in tennis, but rather by hostile design. What other outcome would you expect when you decrease tennis courts from 4 to 3 and you create 4 pickleball courts? That's a ratio of 4 pickleball to 3 tennis courts that are available at any given reservation time. The math isn't hard to figure out why tennis is down and pickleball is up. There are 25% more pickleball courts than tennis now. There's also a decrement in the quality of tennis as well, which you have also done by hostile design. No one wants to play next to pickleball. It's loud and disruptive. The Special Olympic autistic youths who used to play here don't come anymore because you never hired someone to head that community service up. And you've made it impossible for a group of 8 tennis players to play together on adjacent courts because the tennis pro chose his court to be as far away from pickleball as possible, making it impossible to reserve 2 adjacent courts for group tennis. So you've lost those players to other venues. And you've given no valuable upgrades to support tennis. There are no shaded benches. The gaps in the chain link fence that took you years to address required my reminders. And then you place temporary stopgap mesh material that looks ugly, is flimsy, and still doesn't keep balls from escaping. And you certainly have not welcomed the tennis community with the insults you flung about the lowly skill level of tennis players at Rossmoor, only to be outdone by Mr. Maynard's cowardice when he hid behind an anonymous, perhaps fictional individual who called tennis players a tennis gang, fearful that pickleball will ghettoize Rossmoor. I implore this board to consider the next step to avoid continuing to spiral in the wrong direction. Do not spend tens of thousands of dollars to resurface tennis courts that don't need resurfacing. They are only 5 years into their 7 years of useful life, and they are still in great condition. The basis of your vote to offset increasing costs of resurfacing in the future, that makes no sense. Putting a new surface over a good-as-new surface is a reckless waste of our funds. 3 weeks ago, I formally placed a written request that this topic be placed on tonight's board agenda. The answer returned from Mr. Mendoza was a resounding no. His reason, because you board members already voted to pass it. That's lame. When there is information that's relevant to the ill-conceived use of public funds, it's your obligation to make the issue public. A parallel can be drawn from the February board meeting. The general manager confessed errors he'd made in the budgetary cost for pickleball. He submitted a cost of $50,000, but the bid was actually $61,000, and a new vote was taken to approve the higher cost so as to correct the budget record. Similarly, there is an error you need to correct in terms of unnecessary reckless spending. The tennis courts do not need resurfacing, and spending money to do so is an abuse of public funds. This does belong on your agenda. It does need public airing. Ask your own tennis pro. Ask others besides me. Tennis player Dan Sanger has sent you multiple communications with this information. Re-vote on this, just as you did to correct the budget errors. Furthermore, you need to re-vote to correct your budgetary errors yet again. The cost of pickleball is $65,500 when you account for the money spent on the $4,500 3-foot chain link fence and gate installed on the west side of the pickleball court. If you can re-vote on erroneous budget items, you can also re-vote on spending money submitted to you that is wasteful. In fact, it is incumbent upon you to do so. Lastly, the general manager refused to put on tonight's agenda the need for limiting the hours of pickleball play. He says that's the decision. He said that the decision for pickleball hours has to be the same as tennis hours to be fair to both sports. There is so much wrong with that notion. First, there is no balance of the two sports when one has 4 courts and the other only 3. Fair would be to reduce pickleball hours by 25%, since pickleball court availability outnumbers tennis by 25%. Second, pickleball and tennis are not equivalent. There is no imposition on the community by tennis, while there is by pickleball. Third, why are the lights left on all evening without court reservations? This was never done before Mr. Mendoza was hired. Lights were only on for reserved paid court time. Returning to this model would save energy and public funds, as well as control the noise of pickleball during sensitive evening hours. The ugly truth is that pickleball was implemented at the expense of the tennis community and the community at large. You board members have an obligation to spend our taxes prudently. Just as you re-voted last month to correct Mr. Mendoza's budget errors, you need to re-vote this month on the error made to spend thousands of dollars on unnecessary court resurfacing. Put that rescued money into something that serves this community. Mr. Mendoza already made it impossible to protect the adjacent tennis players of pickleball noise by putting up a low-lying 3-foot-high fence between pickleball and the adjacent tennis court. But you can still put sound mitigation up to protect your community that your own consultant, Bob Unitich, implores you to do. Put back the 12-foot barriers on the north-facing fence and cover the gate fully, and put up barriers on the South Baskerville-facing fence to relieve the homeowners there. Turn off the lights when not in use, and limit hours of pickleball play. Remember the days when everyone agreed that pickleball would only be implemented if done right? Turn the trajectory around and do the right thing. Thank you.
Now we have Robert. Or is that a no? That's a no. Okay, that brings us to the end of public forum. We now have some reports for the board. First is a report by Senior Civil Engineer Wei Zhu, our Orange County Public Works Traffic Investigations and Studies. Ms. Zhu.
Chris will help you.
Here we go. Sorry. I can hear a sound.
Should be on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wei Zhu. I'm the traffic engineer from Orange County Public Works Traffic Engineering Division. Along with me is Denise Scara. We led a project last year for, it's actually, yeah, exactly 1 year now, with AE consultant to do a traffic study for Rossmoor community, because that was stemming from several requests from the local residents, along with RCSD, and I believe there's another local organization, all shared concerns about safety along especially Montecito and Bradbury, and then the Rossmoor Elementary School area. So to tackle the entire area holistically, we worked with the AE consultant to develop some improvement recommendations. However, we, at the purpose of serving the community, we present you with the recommendation, but the ultimate decision lies with you, what the majority of the community resident wants. So to hear that voice, we sent out a survey last year. Well, end of December, we sent out a mailer to over 2,000 residents in Rossmoor, and I think RCSD also helped the distribute, broaden the, casting a wider net, and then they send out information to the over 4,000 residents in Rossmoor. So pretty much every household should be aware of this traffic study and what we recommend. And the survey concluded end of January. After analyzing all the response that we received, whether it's online or by mailing in or emails, and the screening through, total there are 833 valid responses. So that's actually higher than what we expected, because normally nobody really care for letters from the public agencies. But after looking into all these responses, we put them in the category because there are a total of 5 recommendations. Basically, it's 5 areas that we want to do improvements. So we can go through those data tonight, and just keep in mind, this is completely factual. We're not pushing for anything. There is no hidden agenda. This is strictly just you guys tell us what you want, and we are sharing our results with you. Okay. So for the first item was Montecito Road North segment, which is from Bradbury going forward north to Devonport. And for this segment, we recommend to reconfigure the street from a 4-lane into 3-lane, basically 1 travel lane each direction with the 2-way left turn lane in the center, and adding Class 2 bike lane on each side and preserved on-street parking. That recommendation, we received 306 vote on yes and 511 vote on no. So the percentage of split, 37% versus 61%. And then there are responses, they didn't put down any specific choice of what they want in the response. That's 2%. The next one. And then for the school area, which is Shakespeare and the Bostonia, basically on the east side of the school perimeter. For that one, what we are presenting is the same street configuration, and then currently the street is kind of just have a centerline striping, so it's extra wide travel lane on each direction. We want to reduce the lane width and adding bike lane and adding two-way left turn lane. And this one is actually is among the highest support that we receive. 44% says yes, 54% say no, and 2% didn't really pick any favor. And for the Montecito South, basically south of Bradbury, this one, again, the configuration is the same. We want to reconfigure it into the 3-lane configuration, but only 35% of the residents voted yes, 63 says no. And then for Bradbury, I think speeding is the primary reason that the primary issue on this case. And what we recommend is to add the some speed limit stencil on the pavement, along with the speed limit sign, and also add, most importantly, add some raised pavement. And for this case, we received 39% of support, and 59% says no. And then lastly, in terms of to improve the intersection safety as well as efficiency, we recommend putting in a mini traffic circle or mini roundabout at 3 locations along Montecito. However, this one we only received 23% support, say yes, and then the 76% responded, say no. So basically, that's all the data that we gathered, and no decision has been made yet, but we want to hear what you guys feel about. Is this representing majority of the peoples, or is this a very valid and the true data that reflects how the community, the entire community says, or do we really need to go, another round of educational session? There are some people voted without much of a knowledge of the pros and cons of all these recommendations. We want to hear what you guys think. Thank you.
Surveys is, one, is there statistical significance based on the number that went out? Additionally, it has to have a certain level of control. You, I believe, are doing it per household?
Yes.
What would prevent some 2 different people on 2 different devices putting in and answering was there a way to lock out people, and was there any measure of control based on that requirement?
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, if you're saying that one of the requirements, one of your protocols for this survey was that it was not per person in Rossmoor, it was per household.
Yes.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
What would prevent a family doing it more than once within that household?
Well, when they submit the vote online,
Yeah.
there is a space for them to put in their address.
Okay.
So we kind of cross-reference,
Oh, good.
compared all
Good.
the address. And if there are duplicates, and I think we did find a few duplicates.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
But that's
surprised.
actually, they voted before the January meeting. So some of them changed their opinion after the January, because we also come to the town hall meeting in January, I believe it's January 9th. That was after we sent out the survey, but we thought it might be necessary to come here and provide the data and the information to the residents before they can cast their vote. So some people do actually, I guess, on the positive side, we were able to convince some of the residents to rethink how they should vote. And so they kind of voted twice, one before the meeting and the one after. And for those, we used the later ones, superseded the previous one.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to Director Searles, who's on the Traffic Committee. We'll end with Tony, who's on the Traffic Committee. So we'll do a Traffic Committee sandwich. So Director Searles.
I'll be honest, I don't really have much to add. I think from the discussion we had when you were here a couple months ago and the community input, I expected to get the more no's than yeses. I don't know, what can be changed to persuade people if that were to be the direction. But I don't believe, and I think Director DeMarco would agree, that there wasn't a direction we wanted to go in. It was to get the input of the community. And unfortunately, I think, we've found the community doesn't want change, which is kind of a human characteristic as well. But I don't really have any questions unless you disagree with kind of those being your observations from the human side.
Well, we kind of discussed internally as well. There are two things I want to mention, but correct me if I'm wrong. Among 833 people responded. Simply, they tell us they care, right? And they want to be part of this decision-making. What really puzzles me is the other over 1,000, I think 1,500 people who never responded. Do they have opinion, or do they simply don't care, or they want to defer it to whether it's RCSD or defer it to OC Public Works to make the decision for them? That's actually something I want to know, but I don't know if any of you guys can help me to, find the answer for that question. Because if they simply just think, oh, well, we think you guys are the experts, so do whatever deemed necessary. If that's the case, that might, suggest otherwise. But if they, easily just say, oh, just let those people who care to vote and we go with whatever, the majority votes on, then yes, I think the current data tells us a clear message what to do next. So that's why that's one thing it kind of puzzled me quite a bit. Another thing I want to mention is I do realize, for example, Bradbury. I remember one of the meetings when I came here to present our analysis, some residents were very adamant about, the speeding is definitely an issue. And we do take that seriously, and we conduct our speed survey and realize, yes, it is. I mean, we have 25-mile speed limit posted on the street. It's a very short stretch. We have 2 signs there, but people just keep ignoring them. So for one, that just tells you, engineering solution is not going to cure everything. You gotta have enforcement. You gotta have education. Otherwise, yeah, I know that you guys are asking us to change the speed limit on Montecito to 25 as well. If Bradbury is not gonna work, how do you think Montecito is gonna work? We can still put 25 mile there, but people are going to ignore it. And that's why we are trying to add some physical elements to the street to, not just leave the option to the driver, oh, I feel so comfortable driving at 50 miles an hour. Rather is create some obstacles so that can, literally slow them down. But I guess people are not really in support of those changes. So again, we conduct our study, we present to you what we, from engineering perspective, what's the recommendations are, but if the community, majority of the residents don't want it, we won't push for it. Yeah.
Okay. Director Barkey, do you have any questions or comments? Nope. Director Shade.
I think that the survey brought back a really good amount of responses. And the results clearly show the residents, and based on the meeting that we had last time, the residents were definitely opposed to any changes that we want to do. So I know that's a difficult thing for people to deal with, is change. There's no question, especially here in Rossmoor. We like to keep things the way that we have them and have enjoyed them. For safety reasons, that's a whole other thing. I'd like to say we appreciate everything that you've done and you brought to light. I think it does require some more education. And it's not to say that it will change, but just bring awareness, if nothing else. I think we need to be respectful of our residents and go with what they would like.
Director DeMarco.
Thank you. So, and I did this during our traffic meetings, just reminded everybody that we are the traffic committee and then through this board, ask traffic, Orange County Traffic, Wazoo, to come back with some solutions to issues we had on, safety issues we had on Montecito and that corridor. So it was nothing, and you said it, I agree with what you said, you're just bringing back data, and we appreciate that. The number one, and certainly at the second or third meeting, which was, it was a different group than the first or second meeting we had. But the number one problem that we've been hearing about is our residents on Montecito and the parking issue. That was our number one. The safety on Montecito was certainly an issue, and we asked for some mitigation, but our number one was the overflow parking due to the lack of capacity at the condos and apartments. So we didn't solve that, okay? And again, the county doesn't have a solution for us for that. So that's an important point. Being a Monday morning quarterback on all of this, in hindsight, I think that the roundabouts scared a lot of residents. The roundabouts were a bit too much of a change, and it might have influenced some folks to saying, you know what, we don't want any change. I think that the Shakespeare intersection, Bostonian intersection, could still be improved without roundabouts, okay? And I was telling President Maynard this, there is constantly new technology with just lightly flashed stop signs, okay? Because they blow through Bostonian, people just drive right through it. So there still could be improvements to those intersections, not the drastic change of a roundabout, which caused a lot of alarm for many people that walk their dogs, kids, and all that, which is certainly our concern as well. So, I mean, again, the origin of all of this is, I've sitting on this board for many years, is the residents' concern with the problems that face them on Montecito, pulling out, and then the parking. So, I mean, this was a lot of work, and I don't think it's a waste of work or data. I think possibly rolling it out a little slower. Again, I have the advantage of it's all done now, and I mean, ultimately, maybe legitimately, you know what, no one wants these changes, right? Me personally, I can see some of these changes making Montecito safer, okay? You know, encompassing a bike lane, slowing it down. I mean, if you sat through all the meetings and listened to you and the consultant, it seems that your data you brought us seems logical, you know, where you have a middle lane and 2 lanes instead of 4 lanes, and your example of pulling out from Tiger Tail or one of those streets, you only have 1 oncoming traffic instead of 2. So logically, that it's a safer dynamic. So with that said, the numbers speak for what the numbers speak for. I know the last meeting, it was overwhelmingly, the majority did not want any change. I don't know if there was any preconceived notion of that. We tried to stress just they're coming, Wayzoo's coming with a lot of information, a lot of data. Try to absorb it and let's make the best decision. If this is the best decision, okay, it's the best, if this is the decision right now. So I want to thank you and your department. And I don't know what the future holds, but the numbers show that on certainly the roundabouts, certainly by the school, they don't want anything changed. And again, another point was the stress of enforcement. So we just heard from CHP, maybe we're going to have that. Again, a lot of the problems are early morning drop-off, afternoon drop-off. In between that, there's not a lot of cars, okay? So Montecito, there's not a lot of cars. To Wayzoo's point, well, there's not a lot of cars, why do you need a 4-lane highway there? So it's a good point, but we have a 4-lane highway there. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I've said this during our meeting too, we don't like change. We don't like change. So thank you very much. I thought there was one other thing I wanted to point, but maybe I'll think about it. But
Okay.
Go ahead.
We're going to do something different, and I want to apologize. As you can see, it gets messy up here. And I just saw earlier, underneath the paper, that I did have a request for public comment, and it is specific to this issue. So if there's an Amy Pearson, normally we have before, but no, please come up. My apologies that this got buried under something here. I wouldn't, okay. So it's a little different, but please ask questions, make comments, take advantage of this.
So I know I've mentioned something, so I might have been the person about talking about speed on Bradbury. Live on it, I work from home. I see it. I see it and I hear it every day, all day long. When I'm walking my dog at 10 o'clock at night, I see the people hightailing it up and down. One thing that was never brought up is I have a question. So I live on Bradbury close to LaSalle Boulevard. I live the last condo building before the gas station. And people use that middle, it's not a turn pocket, it's after the turn, it's like the median, if you will, in between the two lanes. They back up into that they go towards Weatherby. It backs up that far, up Bradbury to Weatherby sometimes. And it makes it impossible to get out of my little alley, to turn left to go back up towards Montecito. Is there a way to maybe put the keep clear sign? I mean, because sometimes if I'm coming off of LaSalle Boulevard to turn into my driveway, I'm sitting in the middle of the street, hoping to God no one rams into the back of me, because I can't turn left because everyone's blocking that little middle lane, if you will. So it's
add a keep clear.
Yeah, you know how they have one on Wallingsford before you get to Catella or Willow. And I'm just wondering, maybe that's a possibility, because again, you can't get into nor out of that driveway when you get the backup to Weatherby. So that was I just know it was never brought up during the traffic study. Speed's a major. What's the possibility of putting stop signs on Bradbury?
Stop sign on
Maybe like on Weatherby.
Which intersection?
Well, like Weatherby or something, because you get a lot of residents of the townhomes who park on Davenport, Weatherby, Wallingsford, all the way up to Montecito, and there's no crosswalks. There's not a lot of lighting on Bradbury. So if you're across the street late at night and you get these cars that are going 50 plus miles an hour, 40, 50 miles an hour, there's no safety for the pedestrians to cross the street.
We can definitely look into the intersections of Weatherby and Bradbury.
Yeah, it doesn't. I have a carport. I don't have to cross the street, but I see people cross the street all day long, going to their cars. There's no safety measures for pedestrians on that stretch of that really busy street. Because you're right, people don't pay attention to the speed limit. I haven't even seen one, but God help if you're behind me, because you are going to go 25 miles an hour. So yeah, I wanted to see if they can do the keep clear at that last, by that driveway, by the gas station, I should say. And I guess in that survey, they didn't want the speed limit sign, the flashing speed limit sign, is that right?
Yeah, the LED flashing stop sign. Oh,
Well,
you mean the speed limit
yeah.
sign? The radar speed feedback sign?
Yeah, I mean, something's got to be done about speed, whether it's, I mean, you know,
Well, the problem with that here is that, for one, it's a very short stretch. And for us to put a sign like that, you cannot put it in front of anyone's house.
Okay.
People would hate it.
Yeah, it's true.
We had that issue actually in South County area. Spend tons of money and do all the design and everything. Once they, put it in, it was in someone's, well, not
Yeah,
in their
okay.
backyard, but, close
Yeah.
enough. They said, well, I'm getting migraine. All the flash and everything, it just bothers me. You guys have to take it out. So
yeah.
we tend to not to put these kind of device, any flashing thing in the, in any close proximity to residential street,
they're-
residential housing.
Well, that goes my next question.
Yeah, so Montecito, we were able to identify two locations, are both, no one's home is right next to it. You can, we have to avoid that. So that's the tricky thing.
And the last thing I was going to
Bradbury?
bring up is I know someone kind of hammered it home, and might have been the January meeting, trying to change behaviors with these road diets, and people don't like them. I came from Long Beach, Alamitos Heights. They put in, we had a whole entire bike boulevard, roundabout. People don't know how to do them. I drove the big one on Lakewood Boulevard twice a day for 18 years. I'm surprised my horn worked, because I was laying on it on a daily basis, trying not to get hit by someone who doesn't, they don't pay attention, they don't know how to do it. And the one in the neighborhoods, they don't know what they're doing either. But my thing was, what the guy said was, nothing was really gonna work but getting your tail a ticket a couple times. I'm just wondering if there is that number for CHP available somehow. People, I mean, if you start calling and saying, get out here and just sit here for a little bit, you'll have a grand old time, making a nice little bit of money for the city or whoever, whatever. It's something's got to get done on Bradbury. I saw an accident a couple months ago by the gas station. I don't know what happened. I heard it and I saw it afterwards. But I'm sitting there every day, whether it's commercial trucks or buses or just, it's ridiculous. It is, the speed is ridiculous on that street. And would a roundabout help? I don't know. I don't think they helped in my last neighborhood. You'd see people just fly around them with not a care in the world. Smaller streets, of course, though, but I don't know what a ticket will help. I got one. I changed my ways on that particular street. I changed my ways. But,
Well, we should have asked the CHP officer, the collision, the 3 collision happened in the intersection, would a roundabout help or not?
yeah, I just wish something good, I mean, again, I see it all day. I just watch it.
Thank you very much.
There's just no regard for anybody. Thank you.
Before I'm going to open it up, I'm going to give it back to Director DeMarco because he finally remember what he was going to say.
One other thing.
Then we'll go back to
Thank you,
public.
thank you.
Yeah.
So I know you're opposed to this, okay, but LA County puts in these soft bumps, these soft dips, okay, where you can go over them at 20 miles an hour or whatever. They're going up all over the place. Have you softened your opinion on any other type of, not a speed bump, it's like maybe it's not soft bump, but it's where you don't have to slow down to 5 miles an hour, but you have to slow down or you're going to get a little bit of a jolt. For Bradbury, 4 streets that are known, Mainway or something like that, 4 streets that are known to be where we tell you that these are problems with speeding. And again, I just walked with Metro last week for another thing, and I was talking to them about them, and they're going in unincorporated East LA. They're all over the residential streets. I go, you mean you guys are for these type of bumps? Oh yeah, we're putting them in because the residents say people are speeding too much. So that was my other thing on the perhaps that could be utilized, tried out, or something for that little tiny stretch on Bradbury that everyone seems to get up to 50 miles an hour before they hit the stop sign on Montecito, which is just amazing. But I've witnessed it. It does happen. Thank you.
I'm from Claremont, where I grew up, and they were called ondulations. I always thought it was such a fancy thing. I thought it was a Claremont thing, but on this one street that had this curve, you had too many people going fast. So there was actually the warning sign that said undulations. And again, that's probably over-engineered being because it was Claremont, California. I'm going to open it back up to public forum because I think some people have some questions on the traffic study. I saw you raise your hand. I also saw you raise your hand. So I'm going to go ladies first. Please. Yes, please. State your name. Not your full address, but what street you live on.
My name is Mary Holzgang, and I live on Kempton and Silver Fox.
Okay.
One of the streets that's halfway filled with cars all the time because of all the parking. But my concern when I got the survey, and I did fill it out, was cars are parked along Montecito, which is fine, and then there was a bike lane, and then there was the main road, and that concerns me because not everybody is careful when they open their driver door, and that driver's door opens right onto the bike lane, and that really concerned me. So that was one of my negative votes. I don't think that the roundabouts would help any. I like the idea of a soft bump in certain places. I think that would help. I would love to see more official highway patrol. If we could do that, maybe just for 3 or 4 months, and catch some of these speeders, I think that would help. I think it would make people more aware. And maybe we need to do a better job of letting people know how dangerous it really is to speed on our residential streets. I've lived here for over 50 years, and it has gotten worse. We've gotten more cars, and I don't know why. We don't have any more houses, but we do have a lot more cars. Maybe we could educate somehow or other. But I just don't see we're cutting down the amount of lanes on Montecito. Any of the places are going to help. So thank you.
No, thank you. Sir.
Good evening. My name is Alan Winter at 3212 Bostonian Drive. And really the question is about the survey and more directed towards the traffic engineer. This cannot be the first traffic survey that's been worked in Orange County that you've been involved in. But if I've got it correctly, we've had about 800 responses out of 2,000 that was issued. And that's about a 40% return, give or take.
38, I think.
Give or take 40%.
Yeah.
Based on your previous experiences, how does that compare to other surveys that have been issued inside of Orange County? Is that about average, above average, less than average? You don't have a comment.
Actually, it is higher than usual, in my opinion. Although the last one I did was a flood control channel, so maybe less people care about that. It was rather they have a service street next to it. They want to open for public use and stuff like that. So we do public survey as well. Any other traffic related? We don't do this very often, to be honest. This time is a massive effort, just so that you guys know. Over 2,000, and it was such a short notice. So Denise, we actually asked the entire department, everyone chip in to help us to do the printing, to do the folding, we run out of envelope, and some people have to literally just run out to get more envelopes. So it was a tremendous effort to put it out there, but we're glad, it paid off. We received over 800 responses, which is really above what we expected. So that was a very positive note, and it also tells us how engaging the residents are. The Rossmoor residents actually are very, in my opinion, in this case, are very engaging in the conversation, which is a very positive side. Because the last thing we want is just talking to a wall and no one really listens. At least people listen and people care. So that's a very positive result.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's representative of how the community sees this particular plan. Is what I was really getting to in terms of the survey results. Within any form of statistical analysis, you would probably say the 40% return based upon previous experiences as you've had certainly shows a particular point.
Can you restate your question?
What I'm telling you, or what I'm suggesting, not telling, I apologize, what I'm suggesting is this level of response is statistically significant.
I would think so, yeah.
Good, thank you very much. And I would, as a secondary comment, thank you very much for your response. I would reinforce what the other lady has just said about enforcement being a way to go. And I recognize that where you are with CHP and where CHP is in the background, but if that message got out in terms of speed control, running stop signs, e-bikes, et cetera, you could probably send a message to a lot of Rossmoor and be done with it. And I would like to say thank you very much for hearing my comments.
You're welcome. So my last comments, you were discussing about the survey, and maybe we should have a survey about why people don't do surveys. That was just me kind of laughing to myself as I was putting that out there. But I think we got areas that are impact zones. And I do know an example is when there's a construction project in the shops of Rossmoor, there's certain people that are more effective than others. And certain cities have different rules of who they have to send flyers and notice to. And I think the impact zone of those, like the lady who spoke up early, who actually sees her block completely filled with Seal Beach residents parking over here in Rossmoor. Nothing bad about Seal Beach residents, but Seal Beach has a problem and our residents have to pay the price. I believe on the speeding, especially on Montecito, I think the people who live on that street or near that street and it's part of their commute, they're more impacted than others. Is there any way of actually identifying the impact zones and getting just their take on it? Because if someone lives and came to our meeting, because I agree with the sentiment here, Rossmoor residents are resistant to change. I get that. We all get that. I'm resistant to a lot of change. But if all of a sudden something was going on Martha Ann and some street, Inverness or something like that, I would say, just don't change it. You know why? Because I don't know. I don't live in that area. I'm not part of that impact zone. But the first impact zone is I do not believe Rossmoor should have a 4-lane highway, because that's what 4 lanes, a highway going through a residential community of only 3,700 homes. And especially on that curve by the library in Seal Beach, that's part of my commute. And sometimes in the distance, is he in the first lane, second lane? You have to kind of, there's 2 decisions I have to make. Which lane is it? I think if he's, and sometimes you don't even know, well, I'm not going to make a decision now, it's too late. I definitely think there's impact zones, and I just want to challenge you to find out what the best practices are for the impact zones. I do know that we have in front of the condos within the section, that's definitely an impact zone on parking. I still think it's an impact zone on traffic because, again, it's a 4-lane highway with a whole bunch of apartments. People crossing the street of a 4-lane highway, our lighting as a county, we've improved our lighting years ago with new LED, better fixtures. We still have a lot of dark spots. So at the end of the day, I don't know if having an overall survey, popularity contest, when you take in public safety, and especially those who are in the impact zone where it affects their daily life. This poor lady, you know, she hears all the screeches, the peel outs, and I know, but I do want to also commend you and your department in this. When I first saw the change, and this is before our agency was working with your agency on this, we saw on Bradbury it go from 4 lanes down to the 3-lane with the center. And when that first happened, I go, oh, that's ridiculous. What a bad idea. That was my first resistance to change. Here it is thrown there. What the heck? But I look at it now, it was the best decision that you guys made. And I also think that we have a service, especially when you get to that Bostonian area, we've got kids riding their bikes. And on that street, on those streets, we need a well-thought-out bike route path to make it safer for kids. So even though Montecito is a 4-lane highway, and again, Rossmoor should not have a 4-way highway, seeing those 2 bike lanes actually I think is the right thing to do, because I can tell you the kids are riding their bikes whether it's an e-bike or not, because they're going into the shops of Rossmoor. They're going around to the library. Well, not now, it's closed. But then we also want to promote healthier living and have kids ride their bikes to Rossmoor Elementary. And right now, it's not that safe. I want to thank you for what you did. You've done a lot of work. I know you've invested time, county resources, and I don't think we'll ever have consensus, but I think we can have clarity. And I think, as Tony mentioned, you had so many stats. And again, when you put out a survey, you don't want to show a bias, but stats are stats. When you lower speed, less people get in car wrecks. When you lower speed, less people die. When you add bicycle lanes, it improves safety for kids. When you reduce a 4-lane highway in Rossmoor down to 2 plus a center lane, that reduces risk as well. So with all that said, I'm going to open up if there's any redirect on this board. We have another, who? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up. Good. Welcome back.
My name is Beth Pyburn, and I do live on Montecito. I live on the corner of Main Way and Rossmoor Center Way.
Impact zone.
Huge impact zone. Okay. Parking is an issue. I encourage you to find a way to use permits, because Los Alamitas had to do it. I used to live over by the racetrack, and our track became permitted, although my street wasn't, because it was farther away, but it did help our parking situation. The flashing stop signs, Seal Beach has them, Los Alamitas has them. They're on the corners, especially around at down Seal Beach. They're on Bolsa, right down from McGaw. That is one way to bring those stop signs to make sure people see them. The noise and the speed on Montecito is awful sometimes, especially at night when it's quiet, and then you hear cars, trucks, motorcycles that have, obviously not listened to the laws of muffler silencing and all that good stuff. But it is a problem. I will tell you that statistically, if you talk to somebody, if they get a 15% return on a survey, they're happy. You should be ecstatic about 40%. That means that's a lot of response. And I did fill mine out. But I would like to know how many people on Montecito in Seal Beach, answered that survey. I never got one in the mail. I got the email because I had come to some of the meetings, so I knew about the survey. I told residents in my condo development to try to fill it out. I said, that's the only way we're going to be hearing. But my biggest concern, and I have said this over and over again, is our driveway access is less than 5 feet from the intersection of Rossmoor Center Way and Montecito. You take away that second lane, we are going to have big problems with trying to get in and out of our building, especially. That is a concern that I have. Although, and the speed. Drop Montecito down to 25. I won't be happy about it, but I'll do my best to abide by it. But I think if you do, you need to not just put the speed limit at the beginning of like at Bradbury, you're going to put it at both ends. You need to put it a couple of places all along the roadway to keep that in front of people's heads. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to have a comment, question? Again?
I was just thinking, if you reduce Montecito from 4 to 2, and people get annoyed with the inconvenience, if you will, it's just going to push them off to other streets, like, where am I? Good Lord, I forgot where I was. Bradbury, or Rossmoor Way, or Orange. They're going to try to get around the road diets, because I came from Long Beach. That's what happened. You're going to try to get around the inconvenience and go somewhere else. It's going to potentially redirect them somewhere else. So if that's going to happen, please pay attention to Bradbury. Because I don't know if this issue is the same on Rossmoor Way or Orange, but I have no idea. I don't live there, I don't work there, I don't know what the speed is like on those streets. But it's just a concern of mine. Again, everyone's got concerns about different things, but again, being where I am, seeing what I see every day, it's bad enough as it is. We don't need more people being directed one street because they're trying to get around this over here. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tony, did you have a redirect?
Yeah. Two things. So CHP was here. CHP has been telling us since the pandemic they're understaffed. It's nice to hear that they're hiring back up. We used to have more of a dedicated, hopefully this officer will be in Rossmoor. Certainly we need more enforcement. Certainly we need more enforcement. But we're going to put out that number. That 714 CHP number is just like, calling the sheriff when you see you see something that doesn't look right to call. Same thing with traffic problems. The more calls he gets, the more resources, the more times he's going to come and come to that intersection, that problem spot. Very, very important. The other thing too is if we want even more enforcement, we just got to pay for it. We can pay for a CHP officer, and we looked at that a few years ago too. So, and we just need a funding source, or we need to put it in our budget. But if enough of residents think it's a worthwhile endeavor, we can talk about that as well. Because the only really, the officer that's writing any kind of moving violation ticket is the CHP. We're an unincorporated. That's just the way it is. So it just takes some money, or also building a relationship back now with our CHP officer to, hopefully, he's going to give Rossmoor some love and be here a lot. Like I saw him this morning, so it's good. But to your point, you mentioned it. We need enforcement also, and it's a big piece. So,
and to further that, when we've talked to our chips in the past, those phone calls sometimes happen live, and it's led to citations. Someone sees someone speeding on one end of Tiger Tail, they call it in. He's around the corner, he keeps his eye, yeah, that's who I just heard, they're still speeding, pulls them over. So we do know that the phone calls, I don't want to say it's real time, but it's fast enough that it has led to citations. You have another? Okay, please.
Do I have to repeat my name again?
No.
Thank you very much. I'm wondering whether you could work with the school district. I live on the corner of Montecito and Bostonian, and I talked to the crossing guards there, and the crossing guards are basically saying they could do with some enforcement. So if you could work with the school district, Los Alameda School District, or particularly do a survey with the crossing guards, you might find another ally there to work with you.
The jurisdiction of crossing guards is actually the community in the sense. So the
okay.
crossing
I
guards in
apologize
Seal
to-
Beach are actually paid for by Seal Beach Police.
Okay.
Our crossing guard is actually paid by our sheriffs.
Well, maybe then we could work with the sheriffs.
So, yes, we can. Our captain was here earlier.
So what I'm suggesting to you, you may want to talk to the crossing guards, and if they're paid for out of the sheriff's budget, you can work through how you could maybe get some squeeze, some of that juice back out by working with the crossing guards. That's just an observation. And thank you for pointing out that it's the sheriff's.
For
not
us, the
school
ones in Rossmoor, it's paid by the sheriff. Okay. Okay, I propose we move on. Thank you for everyone's involvement. It is a true participation with the community, which brings us to the next, equally as exciting, our recreation report with Chris Arguletta.
Thank you, Wade. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you. He has the fun job. He's the one who coordinates all our movie nights or festivals, so he's got the best job in Rossmoor.
Hello, everybody. I'll try to be brief. I just want to mention some past events and some upcoming events. It's been a couple months, but the Rossmoor Winter Festival is another great event, full of holiday spirit. We brought in a bunch of vendors, school choirs, local entertainment, again, pony rides, petting zoo, and of course Santa. It was a great turnout. I love seeing everybody come out and just enjoy themselves that whole evening. It's a lot of work, but I love seeing everybody come out at the end of it. I just want to thank all the great sponsors. We couldn't have done it without them, and all the help from everybody else in the community. So we look forward to next year. We're always trying to add something new to it. So we're trying to figure out what new things we could add to it next year. We had the shredding event. CR&R brought in a shredding truck this past March 2nd. And it provided free shredding to the community. Any of the residents can come by, drop off their boxes, and they could watch their documents be shredded on site. It was a great turnout. We had a little bit of rain in the middle of it, so that put a little bit of a damper on the event. But we still had a couple people in the rain. We had a good amount in the beginning and then a couple at the end. So it was a good event overall. We also had Los Alamitos Medical Center. They came by and did a lecture on cardiology for their Lunch and Learn lecture series, and that was here in the Rush Park Auditorium. And February was Heart Month, so they brought in Buzz Talentino, and he's the director of cardiovascular services and neurodiagnostics. And he discussed the topic and just provided some information to the people in attendance. We also had Los Alamitos Girls Softball League. They started their spring season. They did the traditional parade over from the local elementary school. They gather over there, and all the teams and parents walk over to start the season. It's always fun to watch. So that's going on. That was on February 17th. And the season's been going pretty good. They had one weekend of rainouts, but they're making out the games during the week right now. And we have a bunch of upcoming events. We have, on March 23rd, we have Casino Fiesta. That's hosted by the Youth Center, and that's in collaboration with the RCSD. March 23rd, right here in the Rush Park Auditorium. Guests will enjoy a fun-filled evening of music, games, and there's also an auction going on. That event begins at 6 p.m. And for information about tickets and sponsorship, make sure to visit theyouthcenter.org. On April 5th, we have the Arbor Day celebration. It's going to be at Rossmoor Park. That's a Friday. That's going to be with the arborist Mary Kingman. She's going to be doing tree planting, a scavenger hunt for the kids. There's going to be opportunity drawings, and also a tree walk tour with her. We have the Health and Wellness Festival. That's coming up on May 11th. We had it last year with a good turnout, so we're bringing it back. And they'll be able to attend classes and workshops. They'll also have some other fun activities. There's going to be a kids zone, and I believe we're bringing in a little bit of foam for the kids, a little foam party. They're doing a silent disco as well. So we're trying to mix it up. There's also going to be food options, and then also great vendors just informing people on the stuff that they provide and services. On June 29th, CR&R will be back. We're going to be doing another bulky item cleanup. That's where residents can come and bring their large items that aren't usually taken on the regular days. They cannot exceed 8 feet in length, and there will not be allowed walk-ups or trailers for the event. That same day, we're going to give out compost, the compost giveaway. That's going to be June 29th, the same day, same event. You're going to be given 2 prepackaged bags of compost. And make sure to mark your calendars, because this is the only one this year. Last year we did 2 events like this. This time we decided to just do one, so it's going to be June 29th, so make sure you mark your calendars for that.
Here's what time does it start?
For that one starts at 9, I believe. And we also have the Youth Center Summer Camp. That's going to be back, Camp Shark. That's going to be from June 10th to August 9th. And for information on that and availability, make sure to check out theyouthcenter.org as well. We have our Rossmoor Family Festivals coming back. Great events for the summer. We have the dates for that. Those are going to be June 8th, July 13th, August 10th, and September 14th. We changed the times a little bit. It's going to be starting at 2. I think it's 2 to 8 this year. Yeah, 2 to 8 this year. And the bands that we're bringing back, it's going to be Knight Rider, Stone Soul, The Trip, and The Emperors. And they all really do a great job. There's going to be, again, food trucks, vendors, a kids zone, and we're also trying to add some new stuff for that as well. We're also looking for local sponsors. If anybody's interested, please reach out to us, and we could help. We could always use some more sponsors. We also have movies in the park coming. We have 3 this year. We're going to have June 14th, July 14th, and August 16th. July, we're going to have Trolls Band Together. Or that's in June, I'm sorry. In July, we'll have Elemental, and then August 16th, there'll be Kung Fu Panda 4. And we always have free arts and crafts, as well as a bounce house. That stuff starts at 6, and the movie starts at dusk, so depending on dusk. We also have Shakespeare by the Sea coming back, right here at Rush Park. Make sure you bring your blankets and chairs. They're going to be coming back July 5th with Henry IV, and July 6th with Cardenio. Both performances start at 7. That's going to be here at Rush Park. They always do a great job for us, and make sure to come out and check it out. They always have light snacks and usually coffee that they're selling. We're also doing some senior programming. We're looking into it. We met with Memorial Care the other day, and they're going to possibly come out and do some lectures and classes for us. We've also talked with the Department of Aging, and they provided 10 iPads that we're trying to utilize as well. We're trying to figure out the schedules, dates, and times that works best for everybody, so we'll get back to you on the dates for that. And then we're just going to be trying to build that up and add more to it as it goes. We also have the farmers market every Thursday, beginning at 4. This March 28th, we're going to be having an egg hunt. That's going to be starting at 5. The egg hunt starts at 5, but the whole event starts at 4. We're going to have a magic show. We're going to have arts and crafts. We're going to have cookie decorating. And then starting around 5, we're going to have the egg hunts. We're going to break it up into age groups. I think we have 4 age groups going, so that should be good. We're going to have the Easter Bunny coming out as well. And then the last thing I want to mention, American Red Cross, we do a monthly blood drive here. It's the 3rd Wednesday of the month. The next one's going to be March 20th. Make sure to visit redcrossblood.org to schedule a donation if you're interested. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you much. Any questions, Director Searles?
No problem.
Director
A lot
DeMarco?
of
A lot of stuff coming, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Director Shade?
Thank you, Chris. I know all the effort that you put into this is huge. Thank you for bringing back Shakespeare. That's awesome, because that's something that the residents do want. And I'd like to see some more social media regarding all of our events and stuff.
Okay.
Director Markey?
Nope, thank you, Chris.
All right, thank you, guys.
Chris, I have one question.
Sure.
With the American Red Cross that comes in, do they bring their own volunteers, or are there ways for other people to help the Red Cross?
I'm not too sure. Usually they're fully
They have their
staffed.
own?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious about that.
But I'm sure there's ways of volunteering, just I'm not too sure. But you can probably check out the website and get
All
some
right.
answers for that.
Great job as always, lots of fun events. Like I said, you got the fun job out of the people here in
Appreciate
Rossmoor. You get to create events that people actually want to come to, so.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our consent calendar. We're on item E1. These are expected to be routine, non-controversial, to be acted upon the board of directors at one time. If there's any board member who would like to request an item to be removed, please let us know. If not, is there?
I'd like to pull the minutes.
Minutes, okay. So before going over the minutes, is there a motion to approve the January 2024 revenue and expenditure reports?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Mr. Searles, minutes.
Yeah, as to last month, it's actually included in the minutes, is that we were going to include Captain Patella's report to our minutes, and it's not. So I would ask that we change that so that Captain Patella's crime statistic report go into our minutes that we are adopting.
Okay. So that is actually a motion you're making? Because I agree. I mean, I don't.
I think we did.
It should have been.
It should have been in
Right.
there.
We'll make sure we get them in.
Okay.
And then that, so are these minutes aren't posted until we approve consent, correct? Okay, so we're saying we're going to vote, but contingent on putting in what should have been put.
Sure.
I know that did not sound like proper English. I apologize. So, is there a motion to accept the minutes, but with the direction per Director Seals?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the bulk of our meeting, our regular calendar. First up is item G1. This is discussion and action regarding authorizing the general manager to enter into a contract extension with Enriched Farms and Avante Harvest, Inc. For those who don't know, that is the vendor who manages our farmers market.
President Maynard, if I may, can I request that we go to G5? I see that one of our contractors is here that is representing Land Care, and I'd like to be able to put that first so she can take off and get home to her family.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
So let the last be first, and we'll let the first be last.
Okay. So with us
Biblical.
tonight is Brianna Lashmet. She's the account manager for Land Care USA LLC. We've met with our contract administrative committee, personnel and contract administrative, which is made up of directors, President Maynard and Vice President DeMarco. We met on Friday. We met on February 29th, and we're recommending to the board that we sign an agreement with Land Care Lawn Care Maintenance Services Agreement in substantial form as attached. Everything's attached. We're looking to enter into a one-year contract with 2 one-year options to extend commencing April 1st, 24. So we're looking at not to exceed 3 years. This is a very big step for Rossmoor. We have not had a change in a contract for our landscaping in years. And the reason this came about was our current landscape agreement with Brightview is ending at end of June, okay? Well, end of March, excuse me. And we were in contact early on with Brightview, asking them if they were interested in extending the contract and coming up with a cost of living agreement. And at that point, after numerous months of just discussion, I couldn't negotiate a comparable, I guess, price that would fit our needs and best fit our district. So I knew that this was going to be an issue. So we went to bid, and I think the board knows that. And we went out to bid, and we exercised our rights to get the best possible bid we could. Since 2015, if you turn the page to 124, we gave you a little history. Since 2015 or beyond, we were in contract with Valley Crest, and as you can see, in 2015 it was $73,000, $632 for 3 years. However, it dropped to 48, 52, 55, 57, and now we're back up to that 79 if we sign an agreement with Land Care. The reason that Valley Crest numbers were a little higher is back in the day, Valley Crest was emptying trash cans and cleaning restrooms. And basically, it was very insufficient. You know, we had no control. We didn't know when they were coming or they would be here. And they would be here one time during the daytime, and then by 8 o'clock at night, trash cans are filled, restrooms are dirty. And we didn't, you know, I don't know if we had staff back then or not. I wasn't here, but it wasn't adequate. So in 2018, when I came aboard, we decided to get away from that contract and X that out, and we hired some more part-time staff that was a little more flexible and was able to give us consistent care. So our trash cans, our restrooms, the core is taken care of on a consistent basis. And I hope you can see the difference because we're always clean, and that's our goal. Okay, so from 2018 to 2023, we were in contract with Brightview, and as you can see, the prices went up incrementally, but they were about 3 to 5% each year that we, CPI type of situation. Brightview did put in a bid and with the other contractors, and it was substantially more, it's probably more than double. So what we're recommending tonight is that we enter into an agreement with Landcare, and our attorney, Tarquin Preziosi, has overseen the agreement. There are a few minor changes, but they really don't have a bearing on whether we should enter the agreement or not. It's insignificant. We did have two lowest bidders. There was one lower bidder than Landcare. However, after visiting Landcare and after visiting the other contractor and actually walking some of the areas that they service and looking at their machines and looking at their yard, looking at the way they take care of their trucks and things like that, and their proximity was, we thought was very important. We decided to go with a little higher of the bid, and that's Landcare Incorporated at $79,980. Basically because of the quality of their vehicles, equipment, and we took each of our bidders on a tour of Rossmoor, and Brianna was one of those that went on a tour with us, so we got to know their account managers and their staff. So tonight, I would like to refer you to page 126, and that's our current agreement with Brightview. And if there really isn't anything I'm going to point out here other than that's a reference for you. On page 142,
That's the good page, guys.
142, this is the proposal scorecards, and as you can see, Landcare did not rate very high in their first proposal, but I did meet with Brianna. She upgraded her proposal, gave more information. We did visit her site, and she gave me her bio and gave the history of Landcare and more information that would probably have raised that significantly higher. So, and then on the draft agreement on page 145 is pretty much similar to the current agreement we have with Brightview with a few minor changes. So with that, I would like to introduce Brianna and let the board ask her any questions. And again, we're recommending that we enter into an agreement for $79,980 for the first year. This is an increase of $4,058 this next few months that we can absorb in our current budget, but then we're going to have to update our budget for 24-25 to reflect the 79.
And that's okay, because it's not an approved budget yet.
Right, exactly.
So
So with that, if you want, Brianna, to give you a brief overview of her background
Would
in
love to
Landcare.
Mm-hmm. Hi, so I'm Brianna Lashmet. Sorry, I've been to a bunch of board meetings whenever like this, so bear with me. I am new to Landcare-ish, but not new to the industry. So I was previously with Brightview for 8.5 years. I came over to Landcare after speaking to their VP. He kind of came to me from knowing me from the industry. So I work out of the Orange County North office, which is in Santa Fe Springs off of Valley View, I believe. So I know what I'm doing. I've been in the industry forever, and I've been planting plants with my family also before that. So it's kind of like a family industry. And little reasoning why I left Brightview and came to Landcare is I was used to more of the Valley Crest way that they did things because I was integrated at that time. So I wanted to go somewhere where it wasn't like publicly traded and it was, you felt like a number. I wanted to go somewhere where it felt more like a family. So I feel that now where I'm at. So we kind of get to make decisions and stuff. And I'm an account manager. So if we were awarded the contract, I would be the one taking care of the property. Basically, well, boots on the ground would be my guys, but I would be here weekly just to make sure that the quality control and detail's there. So that's essentially my job.
How many days are you actually out in the field versus in an office with your job?
Every day.
Every day? Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
It also varies. Some properties need more attention than others, so I do a landscape quality audit monthly usually, or for some properties it's weekly. And I'll go through and take pictures of things that I don't think are right, and I'll forward that over to property management, and then they can review it, and then I follow up once those action items have been completed. And I like to walk my properties weekly if I can. And then my production manager's on the property like every other day, just to make sure that quality is there.
Great. I'm going to open up to you, Tony, since you're on the committee who reviewed this, and let you go first.
Okay. What property do you service that's closest to Rossmoor and what we're asking you to do? Because I see 4 in your.
May I?
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go, Joe.
I toured 2 of those sites, but in talking to Brianna, she let me know that, and it's not in here, I don't think, that they do City of Lakewood. They do Lakewood Parks and they do their medians.
Okay, that's right.
So I knew that the gentleman in Lakewood gave him a call. They had high references, and I think she needs to, I guess, let us know more about that.
Yeah, so we do their parks and their medians. We don't really do any detail work in their planners just because they have a different vendor for that. We take care of it just like these parks here. The only difference is, we would do the tot lots, rototill them, and do the detail work here as opposed to there. We do mostly commercial and industrial, but also we do parks, and then I would say we do less like HOA and some master. So Lakewood, I think, would be the closest and the most like this property, and I also manage that property, so.
And how many days a week is this contract for? How many days will you be here in Rossmoor?
2 days a week with a crew of 3. So one of those days will be mowing and edging, and then the other day will be detail, but it is a performance-based contract. So we just technically need to perform to your standards.
Mm-hmm. We have 3 days?
3, yeah.
And are we gonna, is that gonna be sufficient?
Oh, I'm sorry, it was 3 days.
Oh,
Sorry.
it is 3.
I was going to correct you.
Okay,
They come
okay,
Friday, too.
all right. Because currently, we're having a problem where they're only coming 2,
Right.
right? Okay.
3, yeah.
All right, so it's going to be the same 3-day schedule. And again, I'm sure just what you just got through telling us, open communication in terms of with general manager, with our staff, if they see issues and stuff. And you're close enough, Santa Fe Springs, I know another contractor, they were a bit far. Again, in terms of the numbering, the way Joe put this together, some of the questions that, again, Joe, you're telling us that have been updated were like resumes of certain staff and stuff like that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so, all right. And that's why the number, that 19 number is a bit low, just because there were some blanks in the proposal.
I'd like to defer to Tarquin here. This is a public services contract, is that the right terminology?
Correct.
And we have the right during that time to negotiate, talk, and request for additional information in the contract. It's not like a carpet contract where it's cut and dry. So you want to ad-lib on that a little bit?
Joe, what General Manager Mendoza is saying is that this is not a publicly bid contract in the sense that it's not a public works contract, where we have the flexibility once the bid is posted. In essence, you know, the board has made its selection, the subcommittee has made its selection. But this is not a fixed contract in the sense that the parties are free, if needed, to negotiate and refine the terms of the agreement throughout the life of the contract.
You do what's the best interest in Rossmoor when you're dealing with a service contract like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, you're supposed to plug your ears when I ask this question here. So it is one-sided, meaning it's more favorable to us. Because if they can just leave us at any time, I don't want to be left hanging.
I would say it's fair to both parties.
It's fair to both, okay.
Both parties are, you know, free to negotiate, free to engage. To me, being your legal counsel, it appears to be fair to all parties.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything more, Tony?
No, no.
Director Barkey?
No questions.
Director Shade?
You mentioned that you do the audits. How often do you do those?
It's dependent on what you guys really want, but I do them monthly. I do Kilroy in Long Beach, which is, it's Arrow right off the freeway. I do a property walk there with them every Friday, and I give them a report every Monday based off of the Friday walk. And we're bidding Boeing down the street, and then also in Long Beach, and they requested weekly as well. So it just basically depends on what your needs are.
Okay,
But to answer your question, probably monthly.
okay.
Director Searles?
Yeah, thank you. Were you involved in the bid itself?
Yes.
Okay. Did you feel that providing some of the information was too cumbersome, like the number of years the company's been doing business?
No.
Okay. I will personally say it's troublesome to make promises about detailed work and then those kind of details are left out of a bid. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Joe, I mean, we don't deal with the day-to-day of currently Brightview. Again, is there anything else that struck you as this is the right fit based on site visit? Because I know in the committee, you looked at their mowers and their apparatus and stuff like that. Anything else that you would like to share that comes to your mind that why we should take your recommendation and pick land care?
The other bidders that you, before you, seem to be a little too corporate. And this firm seems to be the right size for us. I did recruit a few homeowners association contractors that didn't bid. I did reach out to a number of bigger and larger corporations or contractors that quite frankly didn't bid, and they said, we're just not interested. I think it's a right fit. The onus is going to be on myself and Omero to establish this relationship and to stay on it. Mr. Ciros, or Director Ciros, had a great question, and I browbeat Brianna on this too. But as I visited their site, I understood. And we kind of relate, I kind of relate to the plight they have. It's capacity. You know, I don't think they have, and maybe I'm wrong, but from what I saw, they don't have a huge administrative department. And so their submittal was lacking some information that, again, I had the ability to pull out from her and say, I need more, I need more, I need more. And then we went and made that visit. So is it an excuse? No. But is it reality? Yes. So as she said, boots on the ground. I think they're going to give us good service. I think they bid it at a fair price. I think the bidder, the lowest bidder, probably underbid it, and we would have ran into, I anticipated running into some problems there, that they would have said we can't perform this, we need more money, or they would have backed out later on. So I think it's a sweet spot right there that we've hit, and I hope it's going to work out. And after touring with her, visiting the site, I feel comfortable with it.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you, Joe.
Some of the comments I want to make is, there's a person who's not here who I believe had a lot of say in it, and that's Homero, who has worked for us, what, 30 years? He has been there and done that from when Brightview was Valley Crest, which was someone else, which was someone else, which is someone else, a big corporation. And the fact that they went from 50-something to 134, they didn't want to work with us. That's how you say goodbye. You put out an outrageous bid like that. When it comes to the lowest bidder, the biggest concern expressed by Homero as well as our general managers, they're all the way out in Torrance. So the distribution cost, if there's ever an issue, is someone really going to get in their car and drive all the way out to Torrance at a very fast level? She's going to be here 3 days every single week. And if she's in corporate, it's just up the 605. If she's in Lakewood, that's even closer. So the proximity of service was important, but really, when we looked Homero in the eye and said, who do you want to manage? Who do you, because this is really his thing. He spends the most time on this. Who do you trust? And I think he said, this is just a good fit. So that, to me, lended me to agree with our general manager's recommendation. So with that said, you're on the committee. Do you want to make a motion, Director DeMarco?
Sure. I move that we accept the general manager's recommendation and hire Land Care as our landscaper.
Normally, as being a committee member, I would do the second, but as president, I would like someone else to second it, please. But I wanted you to know that we're in line. That's why I made that comment.
I'll second.
Okay.
If I can clarify the motion. You're authorizing the general manager to
Yes.
enter into the contract in substantial form as attached before you with Land Care.
Correct.
Thank you.
So amend my motion to,
Well, that's how I interpreted what you said.
oh, okay, great.
So, this is not a roll call, or is it? Okay. All those in favor of directing our general manager to enter into a contract with Land Care based on the attachments provide, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 4-1.
No hard feelings.
Okay. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. I have a 3-year-old at home, so.
You better get home.
Thank you, guys.
Story time.
I'll surprise you.
Okay. Okay, we're going to go back to number 1, G1. This is a discussion regarding authorizing the general manager to enter into a contract extension with Enriched Farms and Avanti Harvest, Inc. Mr. Mendoza.
President Maynard and members of the board, I'm asking tonight to extend our agreement with Avanti Farms to provide a farmer's market on Thursday night from 4 to 7 p.m. From May 9th, 2024, when the contract expires on the 8th, to May 8th, 2025. Briefly, Avanti Farms has provided us good service. I know we've had some tough inclement weather that has impacted some of their vendors, but overall, I think we're on the upswing, and we are doing some added, programming with them in order to bring more people out. And one is Easter, one is Halloween, and we've talked about doing some other marketing techniques to get more people out with their kids to the farm. We also, to the farmer's market. So we've also added a weekly craft that youth centers put on during the fall winter months, and then we budgeted some money to bring in magicians and face painters and things on a weekly basis to attract kids who are going to bring their parents to the park. And we're averaging, I want to say, just off the top of my head, Chris might know more, anywhere from 15 to 25 kids a Thursday night that are partaking in those events. So it's fun, and it's also bringing some families out, which is all about. I've talked to Avante Farms and talked to them about maybe doing some movie nights in here during inclement weather, or even bringing some farmers inside if we can protect our flooring, and if they could set up inside instead of outside in order to keep it going during those downtimes, because sometimes it's too cold and wet, to be honest with you. And so I don't know if that's an option, but we're looking at all kind of different things. So I'm just recommending tonight that we extend it for another year and we keep going with the farmers market.
Okay. DeMarco?
I like the farmers market. I go to the farmers market. I think it's a good community event, and Joe and Chris has done a great job just with add-ons, Halloween and, you know, the Easter and stuff. So it's utilizing the park and, you know, having people come together and, you know, selling products. So I like it.
Okay. Director Searles?
Mr. Mendoza, what is the financial impact of the farmers market from the last year? Like, what has the district been?
To the district?
Yeah.
We set up, you know, some cones. We monitor it. We, like I said, we're adding probably $300 to $400 a month entertainment for about 5 months in order to bring more families out. In my opinion, we would do that anyway. It would be a special kids night or something like that we're promoting. So if the farmers market went away, I would still recommend that we do a family night and we bring out, you know, fun stuff for kids to do. So I don't know if that's an impact. We alter staffing schedule, and it really isn't a financial impact because it's a full-time staff member that's working instead of 8 to 5, 1 to 9. So they're tearing down and setting up. That's really about it.
Thank you.
Director Shade?
Was that something that we were going to be bringing in the youth center to assist with as well?
Yeah, during the off-season,
Right.
it's in their contract, and they did this, during
The
the
arts and crafts.
fall and winter, they're
Yeah.
doing arts and crafts out there.
Right.
They're getting a good crowd, yeah. But now, as spring comes, we're taking over.
Perfect. Okay, that's what I thought. Just
Director Barkey?
Have we done any surveys to see how the community likes it?
No, good point, yeah. We can do a survey monkey and figure that out, or put some out here. It's not a problem.
My question is, and it's ironic that since we met on this as a committee, I've been to 2 different farmers markets / artistic fairs and stuff like that. So all of a sudden, after the fact, this idea came to me. Do we have, it's our parking lot, it's our staff, but we're giving them rights to do this farmer's market, which I think is good. Do we have any flexibility that if we wanted to invite a vendor that they've never invited, just to see if they like it and then put them, you know, try to match make?
Oh,
Is there
sure.
something there?
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
Because I saw some places of organic meat and stuff like that that I thought was pretty cool. I go, why don't we have that?
And this is their group that they have, right? They come in and set up, and they make...
Yeah, they have a clientele of farmers or vendors that...
They do
yeah,
rotate out.
Yeah, they rotate people in and out.
Yeah, but along the line, if anyone's out there, have your business card or something saying, hey, by the way, I think it would be great. Would you like to have a test it out first type of thing? And see if we can draw in different kinds of vendors, if we have that flexibility. In the long run, it would help the eventer because basically we're kind of lead generation for them and providing a different type of vendor booth that we never see at our own event.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, with all that said, is there a motion? And this motion would be authorizing our general manager to enter a contract extension with Enriched Farms and Avante Harvest, Inc.
I'd like to make that motion to renew
Great.
the Avante Farms.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? 5-0. Calendar item G2, a discussion and action regarding authorizing the general manager to enter in a contract with Elite Special Events to provide services at the 2024 Rossmoor Summer and Winter Festivals. Mr. Mendoza.
Yes, President Maynard, members of the board, as you know, our Summer Family Festival and our Winter Festival are huge successes, and the residents and the surrounding communities look forward to them. We started out years ago when I was here with just a concert in the park and then a movie night, and we've expanded with the I guess assistant from Elite Special Event in a very, I guess, unimpactful way with our budget. Elite comes in, brings all the apparatuses for the kids to have fun. They bring in the stage, they bring in the food trucks, and they bring in the vendors to booths. Again, the word capacity. We don't have the capacity as a staff to coordinate all that along with all the other stuff we're doing. We have one recreation guy. So Elite takes that role on, and they generate some revenue for their company. At the same time, we expanded our service from just a concert to a festival. And we're really happy with it, and we think it's working. So tonight, before you, we're recommending that we extend the contract to Elite for this year for the 4 festivals and the Winter Festival. There are some hiccups in the contract with Elite. If you look, I'm trying to find the page. I apologize. I lost my page. But in the contract, we provide the restrooms, we provide the lighting. We rent a couple of tree lights, and I believe Elite had in their verbiage that they were doing that, but we've always done that. I believe they probably just brought in a agreement that they use in other sites, but that's part of our agreement with them. And Tarquin is willing to make those changes before we sign the contract. I just wanted to make sure it was noted and transparent. But bottom line is, I'm recommending again that we move with Ted Holcomb and Elite Special Events to help us run our festivals and our Winter Festival. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So Tarquin, where would you amend the contract? I mean, does it say that they're going to provide lights and you're just going to rent? I mean,
That is my understanding. So this would just be an amendment to it would just remove that language that they're going to be providing it.
I believe it was a boilerplate they used somewhere else.
okay.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Is this a agreement that every year we come back to the board, or how many years do we come back?
Every year.
Every year?
Yes.
Wow, so they're like on a probation every year. They need to come back to us. Okay.
Yes.
I feel like we just did this.
But all the
A year ago. Yeah.
all the insurances and indemnification is here.
Okay. Any questions, Director Barkey? Director Shade?
No, I think that Ted's done an amazing job on this, and he is a local resident, and I think it's a win-win.
Okay. Director DeMarco?
Were there any complaints with the what are you guys calling it? The tap, the garden?
The tap beer
Yeah.
garden? No. There was a couple of times where we had to remind people to stay within the garden, but yeah, no.
And that's Ted's person that he brings in?
Yes.
Okay. That of course, are we going to have to come back and okay that license, or is
No.
it all part of this
It's all
now?
part of this.
So they go and seek a permit
yeah.
with the county?
With the county.
Director Slow?
I guess I'd ask Director DeMarco if he'd be interested in making that a probationary question, that we permit the first event to make sure that the tap truck in the alcohol area is being facilitated as promised, or if he would want to do it all at once.
Well,
I'm open to that discussion. but-
Okay. Tarquin, let's say the first event, which is a summer,
We can.
and we are not satisfied with the level of security they brought, drunkenness, stuff that does not reflect Rossmoor, do we have the ability to take away the rights to alcohol on the next event? Just the way the contract is currently written.
Off the top of my head, you could certainly not enter in, you could, so for example, if you were to approve the summer festival contract and the winter festival contract tonight,
Right.
and there was a problem at one of the summer festivals, you clearly have the right to terminate the contract for the winter festival. In terms of if there's a problem, say, in the first summer festival, and you want to then withdraw alcohol from the subsequent summer festivals, summer festivals for that year, I would have to look at the language a little more carefully. If that's something the board wants to do, we can certainly wordsmith that language so that it is readily apparent that the board has that power.
Because our current policy for alcohol is on an event-by-event occasion. So a wedding wants to be here, they want alcohol, they have to petition, it's brought to us. So if our policy is saying that on a per-event vote of the board, is this stepping away from that policy?
You know, President Maynard, I would have to look at the policy a little better because this is a district-sponsored event. In
Yeah.
essence. This is not a third party that's coming in. And I would have to ask Mr. Mendoza if they have been pulling an alcohol permit for each event.
Well, they have to do that for each event.
Right.
And in the past, each time the permit is kind of like the gateway. As soon as someone needs a permit, it comes to the board and we vote yay or nay.
Understood. However, it would behoove us, if the board was concerned about that, to take a look at the language to make sure the language of the agreement didn't give them some form of vested right. I don't believe it does. We want to double check that.
Isn't that agreement in here right now?
Which agreement? I'm sorry, which are you referring to?
The elite special events
Or are you talking
contract.
about our policy?
Or you're talking about our policy? Because I got the policy book right here, and
Right.
I've got the
I would have
contract
to,
right
I would
here.
have to look at the language of the agreement right now to fully
Okay.
answer your question, which I can do. I'm happy to do that, take a look at it right now, but I don't want to leave everyone waiting on the
Okay.
dais while I'm doing that.
Well, I think that's good counsel. You're here, so my suggestion is we can move, unless there's any other questions on number 2, we can move to number 3, and while we're talking about other extensions, we allow our council to look at that.
Their alcohol provision is on page 62 of the elite contract. If you want to take a look at that, 3.5, provision of alcohol.
Oh, that's their contract. That's,
Right.
you need to look at
You've got to
our,
compare the both of them.
we're signing our contract, not their contract, correct?
Correct. There's,
Okay.
That's just, yeah.
their
exhibit.
attachments
Page
are.
69 is our contract.
Right, but we have to look at both of them in order to see what,
If I can,
Oh, okay.
if I can be clear, what their contract, what they provided us are the attachments A and B.
Okay.
Their language, the language of our contract controls over any contrary provision in any of the attachments in the agreement. So I need to look at the body of our agreement.
That's what I thought. Okay. So let's move on to G3 while we allow Tarquin to do a very mini quick review. G3 is a discussion and action regarding authorizing the general manager to enter a contract extension with Brea IT. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, President Maynard, members of the board. Again, the Personnel and Contract Administration Committee made up of President Maynard and Vice President Marco met on February 29th. Brea's contract is up, and we are asking for a 5% increase in fees effective July 1st, 2024. The total amount is $2,025 a month, amounting to $24,003 annually. As you can see on page 86, we did a brief survey of other surrounding cities that Brea does provide service to. but there's also 2 or 3 cities in here that they don't. LAFCO's not a city, but they're comparable in size to Rossmoor as far as their IT department. And we are in line with LAFCO. As you can see, La Palma's down the street, but they have an extensive IT department, and I believe they have sheriffs and other things that they have to take care of. So it is a lot more money. But if you look at the cities of Artesia, Temple City, Walnut, Villa Park, Brea IT does service them, and we are at the lowest end of that spectrum as far as the delta on how much we're paying a month. I believe that Brea has provided great service. They understand a city government, they understand district government, and they understand the requirements that are put upon us, and always are coming up with ideas on how to safeguard our infrastructure with our websites and with our accounting and other things that we utilize daily. So with that, I'm asking for an extension for 3 years, I believe. Is that?
That's what it says on 86.
Yes, 3 years, and that we do a 5% increase this year, and annually to become effective July 24, and was effective July 24, and that we move forward with a 3-year contract with Brea with a CPI increase at the end of each year. And if you can look on page 88, Brea did submit a letter. It outlines the ratio of increases and their request to continue service.
Director DeMarco.
Yeah, we've been with Brea IT so long, and I know years ago I questioned this, but, is this worthwhile to have? But again, talking with Mr. Mendoza and staff, and again, I'll ask you again, this is pretty much a necessity, and the staff uses this constantly all month, correct, Joe?
I would say maybe 4 to 5 days a week we're on the phone with Brea. They're either stopping in here or they're making an adjustment from their office and helping us.
So, I mean, I think it's an essential piece of any small office to have this type of service, to do a whole array of things, and which, Joe and staff have told President Maynard, myself, during the staff meeting, so I think it's necessary.
Okay. Director Searles.
Was Brea IT involved in your web update?
No. What point was?
On board that was initially helping our intern and trying to get that going, and then they stepped out of the picture. We started using Streamline for.
Yeah. Streamline is pretty much turnkey on the website.
Director Shade.
This is something that we've been using for a while, so we're familiar with it, and if we're happy with it, it's a necessary element that we need, so I don't see any reason why we shouldn't continue.
Director Barkey?
Agree.
Yeah. I see it as our staff, they know how to use computers just like we do, but who do they call when they have a problem? We're too small to have an IT person that we bring on board. Our staff needs support. And then looking on page 86, it's nice to see that we are actually bigger than Villa Park as an agency, not as an agency, as a population. And when you look at going from 1905 to 2000, to me, this is negligible. And again, when you look at the staff, they have a good relationship. And within here, they actually come on site. How many times a week do they come on site?
As needed.
As needed, but they actually physically get in their car, drive here, and help our staff out if there's ever a problem with our computers, with our AP, with any of our systems. So to me, this is one of our big no-brainers. So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that sounded like 5 to me. District Council, are you ready, or should we move to G4?
Mr. Board President, I am ready.
You're ready, okay. So we're going to resume the conversation for our event manager or events company here. The issue at hand was, does our contract give us the ability that if we see something, we can revoke the alcohol, and it's more tied to our policy, if I said it correctly. But I'm going to hand it over to you for you to correct me.
Thank you.
And to bring everything up to speed.
General provision, section 3.4 on page 58. District may by written notice of contractor terminate the whole or any part of this agreement
There we go.
at any time without giving cause by giving written notice to contractor of such termination and specifying the effective date thereof. There's 30 days written notice effective date of such termination. In addition, the board has the power to simply terminate the agreement altogether upon 5 days written notice to contractor. So in essence, the board has the authority under the contract.
This is what I was asking earlier, make sure it's one-sided, where we win, if we get the flexibility. I know it's, I don't want it to be mutual, I want Rossmoor to maintain control. So I'm very happy, and you wrote the contract, so thank you.
Correct.
That is very Rossmoor friendly. Even if we just change our mind, doesn't even need to be a cause. So we have the authority, whether it's alcohol, or
any
whether
piece.
we don't like reindeer anymore because they look stupid. I don't know. So anyhow, is there a motion? In fact, I'm going to leave it to you since you're on the committee. Do you have a motion?
Sure. I move that what are we doing? Just,
Just read this.
I'd just like to point out, though,
Yep.
that 30-day notice, correct?
5 day.
30 days notice for without cause, 5 days notice with cause.
Okay.
They have to give us 30 days notice with cause to terminate the agreement.
Okay.
And if I may, let me add to that. We meet with Ted at least twice a month. He knows that this is on the bubble and that it has, we're constantly talking to him about this particular item, okay?
yeah, it's, in my mind, it's liability, it's our brand, it's, it's nothing against the fact that it's serving alcohol. It's just our brand of RCSD, and so we should protect that. And thank you, Tarquin, because that's important, that we should have control of any aspect of our events. So with that, I move that we authorize general manager to enter into a contract with Elite Special Events to provide services at the 2024 Rossmoor Summerfest and Winter Festivals.
Is there a second?
Second?
You got 2 people seconding, love it.
Dr. Barkey.
What?
You got
You
the
get the
second.
second.
You get it.
It was a photo finish.
Ty,
okay?
want to replay, please?
No, you won. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that goes down officially as a 5-0. It brings us to the last of the Gs. This is a discussion and action authorizing our general manager to enter into a contract renewal with West Coast Arborists, also known as WCA.
Thank you, President Maynard, members of the board. West Coast Arbors has indicated on page 98 that they are interested in coming back, and they have outlined what their terms are, and we're looking at a maximum of 3 one-year contract extensions. And I will read you the recommendation, and then I will give you a little background. The Rossmoor Community Services District Personnel Administrative Committee met on February 29th again and is recommending that the Board of Directors authorize the General Manager in consultation with General Counsel to sign a new 3-year contract in substantial form as attached with West Coast Arborists effective July 1st through June 30th, 2027. That would include 3% maximum CPI outlined in the request for contract. I think that's very, I don't know about generous, but I think that's very fair on West Coast Arbor's part, not knowing what the CPI is going to be and to do a 3% annual increase. I'd like to point out that during COVID, they did not ask for an increase. They bypassed asking for a CPI. So West Coast, in my opinion, has been providing us great service. Mary has an outstanding relationship with them. And as you know, we take care of all the parkway trees and the trees within the parks. And we were budgeted for that. The fiscal impact that this would be on the district is the 3% CPI 24-25. The department would recognize a $5,623 impact for a total of $193,053 for fiscal year 24-25. So it is about a $5,600 increase. I think it's well worth it. I think that we're getting great service. And I want to point out that we decided to go to an off-grid trimming cycle. And what that means is every tree in Rossmoor is getting trimmed every 4 years. However, the trees that are troublesome or that we know the species have issues as far as limbs falling or being too dense and during inclement weather, something happening, we have went to a cautious attempt to go in on every 3 years and trim those trees. So Mary has a list that she gives West Coast Arborists and the county, and we aggressively go in there and take care of those trees every 3 years. And then we just hop. So that's why we've just had some tough weather this year. We've had very, very little damage. I mean, almost zero. And I'm putting Mary up for a capstone award with the CJPIA, and I'm putting all those numbers together, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to be successful. We have, if looking at CJPIA, our insurance carrier, our record is meticulous. We have a few root problems, and we have a few limb problems that have done minor damage to cars, and so we're really proud of that. And so West Coast is a big part of that, and I would say I'd recommend that we continue to use them. We've looked at their prices. We piggybacked off City of Los Alamitos, who uses them, and it's very comparable. Okay.
On this one, I'll start with you, Mr. Searles.
To the committee, do you have any input from Mary?
For Mary?
I don't know,
Mary.
Was Mary on our meeting? I
No.
don't recall.
No, but Mary has looked at this contract, and she has blessed it, yes.
Okay. I mean, I'll agree that it seems the service is good and our costs haven't been any issues each month. I would love to have Mary's input, but even without, I will support it.
Director DeMarco?
Nothing to say. I mean, it's, we had no problem with, in the discussion. There wasn't really anything that came out of this other than we know that Mary is in support of it.
Director Barkey? Director Shade?
I
Okay.
would agree with Nathan, 100%.
Okay. I won't make my comment, but it will be made. So, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to renew.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. So that goes down 4-1.
Shit.
Yeah.
You want to
forgot
explain
about
your
that.
nay, or no?
No, I don't need to, but I personally don't think I think they do good safety trims. They do great on the more established trees. I've got a younger tree, and I did not like the way that they treated it. I know this sounds personal and maybe petty, but I know it's the community tree. I took care of it. It was beautiful. I come back one day, and it looks like a Q-tip. And I've seen them do that to other neighbors as well. But then again, they're not artistic people. They go in, their goal is, I'm here 4 years, let's cut as much as I can. If I would have known that they were coming that day, I would have met them at the street and went, No, I would have guided them. I know that sounds like a control freak, but I've heard this from other neighbors in the community, especially if they've got one of the newer trees that's under 10 years old. I personally don't think they do a good job. So that's why I voted nay.
I think that's, could be improved by more oversight with Mary.
I agree, too.
On certain species of trees, like yours.
Yeah. Do we still have a tree committee?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would like you guys to look, I'm not on the tree committee, so whoever the tree committee, next time there's a meeting, find out if there's advance notification to our residents. At least talk about it and bring it back to the board. Does it make sense that you know these 3 blocks are coming on these days, to send some kind of communication? Because if I would have known, I wouldn't have gone to my office. I would have went there, and because basically they cut so much down, and the tree I have grows at 3 feet a year, the canopy is going to be way the heck up there, so it literally looks like a Q-tip. Might as well look like a palm tree, and it's this beautiful Alamo sycamore that just, you know, lost, I'd say, 60% of its beauty.
Right.
So,
I think that you bring up a good point. I think even more so, advertise the grid or what's going to be trimmed, and also if, you know, you just drop us a line on our website if you have concerns about your tree.
Yeah.
Or if you have a comment, just like a neighbor have your opinion, saying, you know what, last time they came in and did this, so Mary is aware, this is where I live, and I didn't like the way they, you know, trimmed the tree.
Yeah, they're probably not going to be 100% every single time. I have good experience because we had a new tree put in just this year. And I know they're going a lot with the willows now, those, I forget what kind of willow it is, but it's a willow, and I know they're putting them everywhere now, and it's a beautiful little tree. I wanted to go with a different one, but we ended up with that one. It seems to be good so far. I haven't had it trimmed, so I'll be keeping an eye out.
I think my tree came in 2017, 16 timeframe, maybe even earlier than.
It grew like a weed.
It grew, I actually,
Like, big time.
because we actually, hey, Mary will help anybody out with selecting the tree.
Fabulous.
She'll even give you the address of here's the same tree, it's 3 years old on this block, 5 years old on that one. I had a beautiful tree that had to be removed, but it was a beautiful tree. And I think it might come back, but all the limbs are way up there, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
enough about me.
It'll come back. It'll come back.
I just hope so. So we're moving on to H.
Yeah, as we should, but
Yeah.
your appropriate criticisms
Yes.
should be addressed, and to the extent that we can improve what we got to be more like your vision of your concerns, then we should do that.
Okay. So I pulled a Tony alcohol issue.
Okay,
At our
fair
events.
enough.
I did the same thing at the end.
Okay, I'll drink to that.
Oh,
Cheers.
I didn't know your wife was here. Hey, Rachel. Okay, let's move on to H1, General Manager.
Thank you, President, Mayor, and members of the board. I'll be real brief here. Our recreation report covered most of my report here with the farmers market, Arbor Day, and things like that. Just want to let you know that we did open bids regarding the flooring and the proposals that came in. Will be coming before the Budget Committee, because we have a meeting coming up to give you the results and then make a recommendation to the board at the April meeting. Okay?
Can I make a quick comment on that?
Sure.
This issue on the floor actually affects the CIP committee, because it is a capital improvement, the Parks and Facility Committee, because it's one of our facilities, as well as the budget. I selected, part of me wanted just, hey, bring it to the whole board.
I was going to suggest the same thing.
But that means it's going to be in April, but no one's ever reviewed it as a board. So the fact that we already have a budget committee in place on the 21st, that's the reason I added it to the budget committee, because we're the first eyes, so at least you'll have eyes looking on it besides district. Because it could have gone, oh, let's give it to CIP, let's give it to tree, or parks facility, let's give it to budget. It literally could be all three. And we just happened to have it on our schedule that The 21st, that's like next week, isn't it? Or, I mean, here we are on the 13th. Yeah, it's going to be
A week
next
from
week.
Thursday.
And that brings it back, at least vetted, for our April meeting.
Right.
So that's why it's going to the Budget Committee. Continue, sir.
And at that meeting, after they review the outcome, you'll have one or two options, and there'll be at least a priority to expedite the motion in whatever the board wants to do. So during the process, we expanded the scenarios to 3, and we'll have 3 different scenarios to look at with different prices. The RCSD is working with Darren and Lindsay Ludwig to do our water safety awareness event on Saturday, May 18th. We have a number of vendors coming in, drowning prevention. We recruited Memorial Care. We're on the phone with the water swim school down the street on, what is that, on Cerritos? And then the pool maintenance business that works off of the boulevard there also, and asking them to come out and maybe do a booth and show their wares and talk about pool safety also. So this is a very impactful program that is driven by Lindsay and Darren, because they had a situation, as you know, one of their little girls would have to be revived by Darren, and it was a good outcome, but they are very passionate about this. So it's a good education, and we're going to get the word out to the public. The court resurfacing project is halfway done. We're waiting for some good weather, which we're getting, and I was on the phone today with Chris to please call the vendor and also make a date, because what he was waiting for was a consistent good weather to dry out the court so he can adequately put down the paint in the lines. We're still working with Michelle Steele's office regarding the zip code. They haven't received word back yet from the postmaster, and they promised they're still working on it. Carolyn and I are working on the Franchise Tax Board PIFC status. We're filling out some of our paperwork that needs to get us back onto good standing with them, and we'll keep you abreast with that. Golden State Water repaired a mainline break at Foster Park last week. We did notify all the homes between Corporate de Oro and Bloom. The water was off for about 6 hours, and they have so far repaired the mainline water break. I want to point out that Andrew Doe's chief deputy that oversees our district, Ophelia Velarde Garcia, moved on to Orange County Waste and Recycling, took a position there, and we are being reassigned to a gentleman named Dew, not Doe, but Dew. And so I talked to him today, and I'm asking him to come to the board to make a presentation just to introduce himself.
I'm sorry, what department was that?
She went, to my knowledge, she went to Orange County Waste and Recycling.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I hate to see her go. She was a good rep, and she cared about us, but yeah.
Supervisor makes a unsecure workplace.
Yep.
So she's being proactive.
Yep. So that concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Director Barkey, do you have any questions for our general manager?
I do not.
Director Shake?
I do not.
Director DeMarco?
I'm thinking, but I do not.
Director Searles?
Hey, Mr. Mendoza, when you prepare the variance report for the budget, or the minutes and the consent calendar, who does the variance report?
Myself, together with staff and our accountant.
Okay. I didn't want to pull it because I don't think it's worth pulling, but needs to be an explanation about the medical insurance. The last month was over 16,000, and per our budget, it should be about 7,000 per month.
I'll look into that. But
So-
I know that the medical insurance is going up, the problem, and I'll go into detail during the variance report next time. The problem is we're off cycle with Kaiser. Kaiser increases their rates in the fall after we do our budget. So it's almost, we don't know what the rates are going to be. So we're always catching up.
Right.
And, okay, so,
I
but
mean,
I'll get you details.
I can accept that, but this sounds a lot like what we did last year with the workers' comp insurance. You know, we waited and it hit our budget, and it kept getting higher and higher and higher, and then we amended our budget, when we were over budget already.
Right.
So if this is something we should have seen before, we should be, last month, it should have been part of the, budget meeting where we were looking at proposing a mid-year revised budget, but we're not. And now we're to the point where it almost doesn't make sense that we'd amend the budget because 3 months from now we'll be out of budget into the next year. So I don't think it's a good process to handle it that way. And my question is, who does the variance report? Is because I'd expect the accountant to be flagging this for us, not necessarily you or staff. I think this is an important role for the accountant. I think our software should see this and scream, okay, something's going out of whack. And this is not a one-time item, but this is recurring. So we need to understand it and do a revised budget if that's the case, so that we know when we're looking at, all of our contracts that we're, properly spending this 5,000 or that, 5,000 going forward.
I can tell you this, that the increase is going up regarding medical care. I believe the last increase that I saw was 17%, and I anticipate
70%?
17.
Oh, 17.
And
So you said it was 9 and now it's going to be 16?
Huh?
Was that it, Nathan?
Oh,
No,
I'm sorry.
this past month it was 16, and on average for our budget, it should be 7.
I will look
It's
into
more
that.
than
I'll make
double.
sure we report back to you.
Right. Thank you.
I do know that we used to take the approach of looking, because we never even know what we're going to get from the county, but we have history.
Right.
So, and if you know that every fall they're going to raise it up, and if we have the right IT systems in place, that you can have that history, we can then, because a budget is, half of it's art. You're guessing and anticipating what the county's going to give us as revenue each year. And then we're also anticipating, is there any cost of services that are going to go up? When it's a contract, it's real easy to say, well, no, it's capped, it's only 3%, or there is no provision for cost increase. But if we have historical data with the same insurance supplier, I should say, we need to do a little bit more of what I would call a forecast, not a true budget, but some kind of forecasting. And then you bring it up to the budget committee on the few times we meet a year.
I believe what Director Sherrills is saying is we need to try to hit mid-year with it if we can find out what that.
But I think another
Or
thing.
at least a forecast based on history. We're raising the budget during our LE process, our latest estimate to close, and using history.
Yeah, I think, though, what Director Searles is saying specifically is, just like with workers' comp, when there's this rather large increase in a particular month or several months, where if you take the budget on a 12-month cycle and it's over by 20%, then there should be a flag to where on your report, to us, it's saying, you know what, hey, this one, here's the reasons why it's going up, and we should be notified about that. Yeah, it should just be part of commentary, especially if normally it's 7 or 9 and now it's 16. Is that going to be every month it's going to be 16? Or is this a 1-month thing? So.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to board items. Director Sorrells.
I want to thank Dr. Barkey or Director Barkey for the suggestion about the farmer's market survey. I think that's a good thing to do. It's been, I think the only time we did one was the first 2 weeks we had it. And so that's a great thing to bring back. And then I hope I'm wrong about the landscaping contract. I do think not filling out all the details is concerning, but again, I will trust Omero and the committee and Mr. Mendoza, and hope again that I'm wrong. That's all. Thank you.
Director DeMarco?
You know, I just want to mention to this board that we did discuss in the tree portion of these contracts that, and I'm just going to just tell you guys, we need to start thinking about this moving forward, is like our street sweeping contract that is a reimbursable, we should, and we've talked about, we're talking about this, I'm with Mr. Mendoza, that perhaps we should also get our tree service reimbursed of, some parts reimbursed, because we are county, and, when we were talking about this contract, the county uses our contractor. So it's the same, they use, for all the islands, they use the same contractor, and they pay. Now, again, our trees are in our jurisdiction, which, street sweeping's in our jurisdiction, and we get reimbursed. So just sharing that, we had that conversation, just wanted to share it with the board. I wrote this down, Joe. Remember when the vector control people came? And I kept on calling our canals instead of channels and all that. But, I mean, again, we've had a lot of rain, right? But there seems to be a lot of standing water in our channels, or whatever it's the proper term. So, again, just keep that. I mean, I remember when I asked the question, oh, no, we look at it and everything. There's no way they go in and look at all those channels for water. Okay, so once most of it all evaporates, there's just a lot of water in there for,
Mosquitoes.
bugs and mosquitoes when it starts getting warm. So, again, just kind of, I don't know, not putting an end to the traffic and all this. I want to just say that someone who spends a lot of time in LA County and button heads with LA County, it's worthwhile, and we should appreciate the Orange County traffic coming in and doing this study and giving us this level of detail. So whether or not we go through with nothing, which what it seems like, I just, I want to resolve the parking, and unless there's, the folks that don't have the capacity Seal Beach needs to find them a solution. To protect our residents, we should have a permit, and I'm still going to be pushing towards that. But in terms of all the other work that Wazoo did, I want to thank her and her department. It was a worthwhile process. I learned a lot. We got a lot of information. This data is going to be on our website, and and we should, it was a very good service what they did. So, they spent over $100,000 on the study. So, just wanted to make that comment. And Carolyn, I'll say it again. We need to the numbers for sheriff and CHP. It's almost like it's a constant thing, like our logo. Okay, it's. Maybe when residents see it 100 times, they'll remember, oh, I should put that in my phone, because there is an enormous amount of traffic violations at the corners of our schools in front of the crosswalk people, because they, I hear about it all the time. I mean, it's just an enormous amount of violations where they, mostly residents just, barrel through those. So the more people complain and, hey, it was black car and detail, because, again, you had mentioned this, Musselman one time, because someone wrote down the license, he went and visited the resident and talked to them. So it does work. The more you complain, we're in a complaint county, or the way this works is the more you complain, the more resources you get. So I just highly encourage, you can come and complain here, or you can drop us a line and do all that stuff, but call them and initiate a report or an incident report, whether it has to do with the sheriff or has to do with CHP. That's it. Thank you.
Director Shade.
Okay, so a couple things. Thank you for bringing up that mosquito issue, because I do think we have standing water in our channels, and they need to be addressed, and I'm always concerned about that. That does need to have call our guys, our vector guys. So we talked about our events and everything like that. I think that they are a really good thing, and Chris and his team do an amazing job. Omero, all of them, they're amazing. I love our staff. They're just beautiful people to work with, as well as Ted. So I'm glad that we renewed his contract for him, because he does perform a huge service, and it's a win-win for all of us on all of the levels. We had a speaker tonight, Miss Michelle, who spoke very eloquently and brought up some good points, and I think we need to bring up some review some things that she said, and one of them was the warrants. Those need to be on the website. I mean, if that's a standard thing, SOP, we should have them. Why aren't we transparent with our warrants? Everything needs to be on there in detail. I'd like to see our website up there. How far off are we on getting everything up there, do you know?
No, it's not an issue. I think I relayed to Michelle that we're working on that, and we will be including them.
Okay. Because she was like, she mentioned about the timelines. So let's make sure we're being efficient on that and getting everything on our website. And as far as like our historical stuff, that's supposed to be available on there as well. And I'd like to see some social media done on our website. I haven't seen anything advertising the fact that we have a new website and that people need to visit it. I mean, we really need, is it ready for that?
I believe we have some marketing out there, and it will be put on our website, yeah.
Social media announcements. We have a new website. I haven't seen one single one. I'm on social media all the time because of my business. I'm on there all the time, and I see every single posting. There's a lot on there, but we just need to, our website really needs to be promoted. And what's on there, like the availability and the easy, use of it and everything. It just all needs to be out there. We need to promote that. Nobody knows we have a new website.
We totally agree. On your way out, there's some teasers that is specifically saying that, and that she'll be adding to the website.
Okay.
And your way out the door.
Fabulous. Okay. I'm going to say thank you to our Girl Scouts, and thank you for bringing the Girl Scouts in and rotating the Boy Scouts on the Girl Scouts, because I think it's fabulous, and that we're sharing. Show the love to both. They're amazing. The Scouts are great. It's a great organization on all levels. So I thank you for doing that. And that is it.
Thank you. Director Barkey.
Having warrants on our agenda and for the board to review, warrants are basically the municipality's checkbook, right? And it's on school boards. There'll be pages and pages and pages of warrants given to the board members to look through. Occasional question, what's this charged for? What's that charged for? It's a commonality. I don't know about city council, but I imagine they have it as well. I don't think it's a burden to add that. I think whoever that was that requested it is reasonable request. I don't like how she requested it, but I think the request is reasonable.
That's what I'm saying.
And I think it would be a good thing for all of us to see, glance through, what are we writing checks for, what are we doing? I think it's a perfectly reasonable request. The traffic thing, we've been struggling with this traffic thing forever, right? It's too much speeding, parking, going in and out when people are parked and you can't see, safety issues, bike lanes. And anytime you're asking the community to change something, I won't even mention pickleball, you're not always going to get consensus, as we saw, less than 50% on every idea that was presented. I don't think we should give up on it, and I just wonder if there's a not permanent solution that we can just play with. Tony mentioned speed bumps, humps, whatever you want to call those things. They're everywhere. You go up into the unincorporated areas, Coto de Casa and so forth, they're everywhere. They slow people down. I get it that fire authority doesn't like them because if they have to come speeding through in their big trucks, it's a problem, but whatever. They're able to do it in other areas. They have these speed bump things that are temporary. Chain it across, you put it on, you try it for a few weeks, you see, you get a little feedback. Or even the lanes going from 4 to 2 with the middle thing, you can do that. As I recall, we were told about a mechanism by which we could do that temporarily. You don't have to paint the lines and do this. You can put up temporary things. Just try it. I get it that we don't even have 50% that say thumbs up. But I wonder if we just tried it for a month, a few weeks, or whatever, people played with it and saw it, and they go, wow, that's not such a bad thing. And it actually works, and you get used to it. Even the roundabout things, there's probably ways to do temporary roundabouts. I don't know how, but I imagine. I just don't think we should give up on it. I'm not saying we impose our will over what the community is wanting, but these kind of surveys are really difficult. And are the people that live on Montecito, what if you just surveyed them? I wonder if they'd feel different. If you live in the interior, it's just more of a hassle that something's going to change that you're used to, and maybe those folks don't want it. I don't know. But I don't think we should just go, well, we tried it, 40%, done, have a nice day, maybe next year we'll come back. It's too important of an issue. Parking permits, absolutely. That's a long game to play, but I think ultimately we can be successful. But that's why we're hired, why we're elected. We're elected to make those decisions as we see best because we have the most knowledge, because that knowledge is being presented to us real time. And so we're elected to make those decisions. If every single decision that we have to make, we're going to do by survey of the community, we'll get nothing done. And sometimes you have to just do things that we believe in our heart, based on our knowledge and our best guess, is in the best interest of the community, especially if you can do it in a temporary way. We're not making permanent changes and spending a lot of money. Anyways, that's my feeling. So I think we should continue to evaluate this and eventually come to some decision to experiment and to try some things out.
Thank you, Director.
Yeah.
I agree with exactly what you said. That's why I brought up the impact zone. I think people who live on Montecito, or people who live near Montecito and Mainway, where they see the parking issue, where they see the traffic, I think the consideration to the people who have to live it and breathe it all the time should be taken in. And the point, I completely agree about surveys. I think a simpler survey that's more top line of, do you think Rossmoor streets have enough stop signs? Do you, more of that kind of feedback. Do you think our speed limits are too high? That question wasn't asked. But to me, that's more of a basic question where people could go, do you think a 4-lane highway belongs in Rossmoor? That's different than, hey, here's what you're doing, here's what we propose, do you think it's a good idea? To me, it's more start up at the 30,000 foot and start drilling down. Do you think Rossmoor residents drive too fast? I think that probably would have yielded different results than what we got. But I also believe that when you put things out in surveys and surveys and surveys, imagine, I'm just making this up as I go, imagine a school teacher who goes, you know what, my curriculum, I'm going to do a survey to my kids. Well, there's going to be a lot more recess. If there's going to be the things they want, and okay, well, the kids really want more recess, so Exactly, or look at the nutrition menu. Okay, jelly beans, sure, that's a great idea. That's what 80% of my kids want. To me, it comes down to, I've said it before, safety. I think safety, especially public safety, and when you have the stats of 25 miles per hour, even though it might not be convenient, saves lives, makes it safer than 35. And if there's studies that empirically show that, yeah, reducing your speed limit. I live for the day where there's one speed limit in Rossmoor so you don't have to guess. I also think that paint is fairly economical, that you can paint it more often. That was one of the ideas. More signs? No, just more signs on the ground that you see while you're driving that say 25. And I would love for Rossmoor to have a 25 mile per hour, regardless of what street you are on. And I don't, and again, I've said it too many times, I don't believe a 4-lane highway belongs in Rossmoor. There should not be a highway in a community of 10,500 residents. What's dictated by residential, not by commercial. So that's my take on that situation, which now leads us to General Counsel. Do you have anything you would like to discuss?
No, President Bronco, thank
Okay.
you very much.
With that, I call this meeting over. Or adjourned.